Hello, I'm the Great Wizard Merlan, and we are here today for some more tabletop RPG playing shiznit for you guys. Shenanigans. So we are not on Black Crusade at the moment. We are running a D&D 5th edition campaign, which our ever-loving Cassus has written for us. So it should be good. He's definitely spent some good amount of time on it. So
it's entirely homebrew.
Yeah, and we are all looking forward to our characters.
Yeah. Don't get us wrong. The actual rules are still 5e. There's very little sort of messing with the actual rules, but the world, all the everything in it is very much homebrew.
We can't afford books.
Yeah, you say that. Yeah.
So because it is entirely new, it's not run from a book or anything, we'll be learning a lot of stuff about the world as we go. Some people I know have some bits and pieces around certain areas and their own backstories, which we'll get into in a second.
So, a little bit about the world. So it's your typical sort of fantasy setting. You may see some things of different ethnicities that I've had inspiration for dotted around the place. Some obvious, some less so. But one of the majorly defining factors of this world compared to other ones is orcs and dwarves functionally have swapped places in society. Largely, dwarves are seen as, uncouth and untrustworthy, unloved by most of the races, and the orcs are actually seen as the favourable, if gruff, lovable people, sort of. World history, about 1600 years previous in the history, the dwarves tried to take over the world. Well, that was the end of them trying to take over the world. They had a campaign that spread all the way across the face of the planet, and they very nearly succeeded, if not for the heroes of that age, who broke the dwarves' advance. The dwarves then split down the middle. Half of the race fled to the southern continent, parts unknown. The other half stayed on the main continent, trying to make amends, right wrongs, and fix the mistakes that they had previously made. Over the 1600 years, they've managed to largely improve relations. They've managed to fix a lot of their mistakes, but there's still a lot of prejudice and a lot of racial tension surrounding the dwarves in particular. In the last couple of decades, dwarven banditry has been on the rise again. So the tensions between races has strained a little bit, and some of the races aren't so happy with them anymore. There's a few people wondering if they're falling back into their own ways, others hoping it's just some of them are just, being a bit uppity, but no one's really sure. But yes, that's a little bit about it. There's more to uncover as we go along. I won't go too heavily into it. But each person has a bit of a background for their character, something to help shape their past and potentially some of the story going forwards. So, if someone is happy to start off by giving their introduction, each character should have a reasonable introduction to give you a bit of insight into them.
It's his channel.
So it's dibs,
You're
not
up,
it.
Buttercup.
Okay, so character. So I play, Carson Reinhardt. So he's human with lightly tanned skin, hazel-coloured eyes, and medium-length brown hair. Funny that. I've decided to play, more to home because it's easier that way. So he is part of a long line of merchants, specifically a travelling caravan. He's been taught, all of his family should be proud of their lineage as they have cemented their reputation as the best merchants in all the lands. All Reinhardts are human, but that doesn't mean everyone in the travelling band is part of that family. There are some other trusted merchants, hunters, helpers, guards, and even some who just choose travelling life or want to be protected. Growing up, all Carson knew, was the travelling lifestyle. His father attempted to teach him how to be a successful merchant, but he had a temper. Somehow, any deal he made, would go unfavourably or not at all down to his attitude. His father eventually gave up trying to teach him, as Carson had two older brothers that still needed to pick up the mantle. So he joined the hunters to help provide food for the caravan. Not only did this work on reducing his anger issues, but he rather enjoyed it and became quite proficient with combat and survival skills. He certainly loved cooking. He and his father eventually reconciled, but he never could stop trying to get Carson back into his true calling. The more his father pushed, the more he knew he didn't want to be a merchant, but he still loved his family and didn't know what to do. One day, an old elven monk joined the caravan, Galif Redleaf, but everyone ended up calling him Old Man Gal. After spending time with the people, he took a shining to Carson, as he knew he just didn't quite fit with the rest of the caravan. The pair grew quite close after Galif offered to train him, but not just his body, his mind too, being as he still had that temper, and Galif knew one day that would get him into trouble. In the end, Old Man Gal seemed more family to Carson than his own flesh and blood. He was encouraged to live his own life, and so he said this to him: when an apple falls, it can grow into a new tree, be eaten by a passing animal, or roll away, never to be seen again. Nothing in life is certain, but it certainly offers challenges and choices along the way. Like the apple, you do not want to be eaten, but you will choose to become a new tree right near the one that made you, or will you roll away where only you know where you are going? Carson made a choice. This was not the life he chose, but the one chosen for him. He decided that he wanted to explore the world and experience life in towns or even cities. He wanted Old Man Gal to come with him, but it wasn't meant to be. He did not give a reason, but Galif said he needed to leave. It was time to move on. Carson said goodbye to Galif, but not his family. They wouldn't understand. He packed some of his belongings, then waited until it was his normal time to go out hunting. He prepared the way he normally would, but when he left, he never returned. Like an apple, he had rolled away from his tree.
Oh, that was really good. I like that.
So there we go, a bit of interesting insight into Carson there.
Well, I'm not the bad in comparison.
So of course the idea is obviously a little bit longer than our normal intros, just because we're going to be playing this one a bit longer. I wanted people to have like a real feel for their characters and really get into them. So some might be a bit longer than others, but
apologies.
Yeah, I haven't been the man's going to be the short one.
it's fine.
Some possibly more darker than that one. So
Apologies. Should we just go around the table?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Hoff Spitzwig. I'm a gnome. I grew up on a farm just outside Cassagor. That's where I learned to hunt. I've been running with the trade caravans for a few years now. I got the job through a friend of mine, halfling called Barefoot. It's because he does not wear shoes and his feet are hairy like a bear. He's a long-time drinking and gambling buddy of mine. He was a mule driver, and I was a lookout. I would range ahead of the caravan or guard the flanks against bandits. Quite a good shot with my crossbow. I'd also hunt for food for the caravan. I've travelled to most neighbouring towns and cities with the traders and made some useful contacts along the way. I like town life, but it's all right for a break. But I like the open road. Unfortunately, the company went under recently. Attacks have increased, and they needed more guards, and eventually they couldn't. It was no longer profitable, and I was let go. But there are other opportunities, I suppose. We'll see.
That was definitely immersive. Enjoyed that.
Okay, so now for the guy who really isn't as prepared as the rest. So I'm playing Zach Hawkins, a lone gunslinger from the city of Cassagor. Not too much of a tragic backstory. Parents died when I was merely a teenager. My mom was author, she wrote and supplied books, but my dad was a tanner, he did the leatherback and the other general, oh god, I cannot do that.
Just do a different just pick a different accent. Whatever you come from.
This is the time to settle. You don't have to pick it right now the second, but it's the time to settle.
And other general things around the town. Zach, growing up, was a huge fan of the books of Roosevelt Lynch, another lone gunslinger. Lone gunslinger, funnily enough. I am not doing well speaking today.
It's okay.
It's fine.
Take your time.
Yeah, no, this is a Twitch stream. That doesn't happen. Zach's always been fascinated with guns and the stories of these great heroes. And once his parents passed, leaving the bookstore to him, he felt no drive or determination to stay. So he took his crossbow that he always played with as a kid and thought, maybe it's my time to actually get to do something of my own. So he set out from Casagor along the continent, trying to find somewhere where he can sling his gun, or find one at least.
Gotta find one to sling him.
So for anyone out there who is obviously well versed in 5e, Gunslinger is obviously not core book or extended books, but it's on D&D Beyond. So as far as I'm concerned, it's almost official. It's a class that people might know from another famous channel, but it's actually fairly well balanced overall. And he can't get a gun till level 3 anyway. So
Yeah.
Okay. I'm playing Macaria Fel. She's 26 years old and she's a tiefling sorceress. Even she doesn't know where she's from. Left on the steps of an orphanage as an infant in Casagor, the matron was kindly and knew she would find it hard to fit into the world. Macaria has brilliant blue skin, silver flicked eyes, long black hair with circled ram horns that entangle through it. She isn't really someone that can easily hide in a crowd. She spent her time growing up wanting to absorb all the knowledge around her. Anything unlearned had to be discovered. Her matron, Athena Cooper, has always encouraged her, finding books in the market, taking her down to the library, as well as pulling her away from the pages long enough to do the day-to-day tasks. When Macaria was 7, she wanted to discover more about the strange black tribal birthmark that covers her entire left thigh. After spending months studying, hoping to find out more about her birth parents and where she was from, she discovered it was an arcane focus mark. More of her life fell into place, but more questions arose. Then Matron Cooper died suddenly when she was 13, and she realised just how ugly the world was. Chased away from her home after the will reading that left her the deed to the orphanage. The residents and staff were enraged. Instead of staying to face the heat, she took the small amounts of possessions she had and left to head to the Mages College in Sorketh. Even after arriving in Sorketh, she still didn't fit in with the students. They always seemed to find something to tease her about. After hiding behind books, speaking with real people seemed a very daunting task, and she wasn't very good at it. But she managed to earn the respect of the Archmage, named Exior
Balefire.
through her dedication, her work ethic, and her spell work. He paired her with a mentor called Professor Anders Montag, and under him she really flourished. She was specialised within shadow magic and understanding the occult realm of Shadowfell. It is not well documented and surrounded by dark secrets that intrigued her further. It was almost like the dark tomes called out to her. The shadow magic seemed so easy to master and use. Others did not find it so easy. Milton Tasker was always jealous of her, determined to undermine her at every step. A deep-set rivalry was set between them, and many unforgivable acts lay between them. Not even Headmaster Azar Silvershine could mediate a peace between them, despite months of trying. They were at least civil in public. One day, she researched further into the dark world of Shadowfell late at night. She felt the uncanny presence of something, not someone. It was more primal than that, and it was watching her. Feeling her body stiffen, she couldn't turn as she felt the thin claws stroke along her cheek from behind. She was both afraid and intrigued by this dark creature. He promised her knowledge and understanding beyond those who studied the field of the Mages College. She took the deal, not fully understanding what she was giving away. She is now currently travelling to the city of Saxton after Professor Montag told her that her education in the magical arts had functionally halted, and that she wouldn't be able to continue to grow or learn further magic without experience, and further knowledge had to be said, so she had to travel. Maybe discover new places and sensations. Now her goals are to discover more untold tales and hidden knowledge on this plane and find a way to bargain back her soul she sold so many years ago.
Da, da, da.
Duh.
So, you may have noticed so far there's been a couple of different place names and NPC name drops, which more on those later. But it's a few bits in there to keep an ear out for.
Okay, so I'm going to be playing Cassandra Harmon. Cassandra Harmon is joint youngest and only female of 8 in the Harmon family. She grew up in a family home in the town of Misgate on the continent of Valir. Her family consists of her father, Lord Thomas Harmont, 74 years old, her mother, Lady Lolita Harmont, 74, her first brother, Esteban, 42 at time of death, second brother, Dorian, 42, third brother, Tristan, 41, her fourth brother, Alastair, 38, her fifth brother, Benjamin, 37, her sixth brother, William, 32, her seventh brother and twin, Rowan, 20, who was older than her by 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and he always rubbed that in her face when they fought. The Harmont family were believed to be descended from angels, which became apparent when Cassandra and her twin Rowan were born. Unlike the rest of their family, the twins were born Azimars, with bright auburn hair. When the twins were 17, Cassandra and Rowan found their brother Esteban dead, and Dorian's sword covered in his blood next to the body. That night, Alastair woke them up, telling the pair that Dorian intended to kill them, and that they should flee their home. When the twins asked him to go with them, he stayed, saying that he would do what he could to look after the rest of the family. Cassandra and Rowan fled to Port Saltwash, where Rowan managed to get safe passage to the continent of Forterre. They attempted to travel north into the Ice Heart Mountains, where Cassandra fell ill to hypothermia due to the cold, and has little memory of the time. She remembers brief snippets of the cold and Rowan worrying, but little else apart from a vague memory of what may have been a snowstorm. The next solid memory that Cassandra has is of waking up in a tavern in Tanfell and her brother is gone, and she hasn't seen him since. Cassandra had no idea what Tanfell was like, so she wandered the streets looking for Rowan. After searching for what seemed like forever, a group of thugs attempted to kidnap her because of her heritage, when a complete stranger rescued her and killed everyone in the process. This stranger became her mentor, a human blood hunter named Hamon Vandar. He offered to teach her to defend herself in exchange for a favour to be owed in the future. So she spent the next 3 years in Tanfell becoming a blood hunter. At the age of 20, she left to go back to Valir to continue searching for her brother. Hammond paid her passage back for her since she had no money and wasn't willing to pay the price to earn in that place. After a little bit of travelling and searching, she came to the village of Saxton to get some rest and earn a bit of coin before continuing the search. So she headed to the Tarnished Goblet to barter for a bed in exchange for a good day's work.
I have a really quick question. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. The age that you listed of your family, is that what they are currently?
Currently, yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, that was what I wanted to ask. Sorry.
Unless stated at time of death.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I was just saying, just curious.
So, all roads lead to Saxton,
Yeah.
which is where this begins. So, what I'm going to ask you all to do is roll a d20
Oh shit.
for the orders in which you arrive.
Rolling.
Witness 15.
Witnessed.
Okay.
Everyone's already left by the time I've arrived.
1.
Close to.
Sounds about right.
You had a 20.
Yep.
So that means you're first.
17.
Anyone
Any
higher than
higher than
17
17?
other than you?
No, 15.
Okay. So who was next down?
15.
15.
15. Then it was you.
I rolled a 12, Merlan.
Yeah, mine had a 2 in it as well, just without that 1.
But you're used to rolling ones. Maybe if you just remember to put the 1 in front of another number, you'd be fine.
Yeah?
So,
I'm doing it wrong.
Zach Hawkins, you've been wandering for a little while, taking odd jobs here and there.
Yep.
And you've been wandering this side of the continent now for probably a better part of a week. Your money's sort of run down,
Yep.
your rations have run down a little bit, and coming to the edge of the forest, you've seen what looks like a small town. Doesn't look like anything special, doesn't look like anything you haven't seen before, but probably the most civilised you've seen the better part of 2 weeks. So,
Yep. I'll start gradually making my way towards the town.
okay, so there doesn't look like there's any formal defences to speak of. There's a wooden palisade wall around the edge. It looks like there's a few guards sort of rushing about, looking a bit more urgent than you'd expect in a small, quaint village like this. But they seem to be, pulling together weapons, making sure they've got equipment together. One of them, as he sort of sees you, gives you a nod and almost a curious look.
I'll nod back. The benefit of those who can't see me on camera.
So, where do you go first?
But I'll approach that same guard and say, what seems to be the matter here?
Oh, we've had a lot of attacks at night of late. To be quite honest, we haven't had guests in a while, so people coming in is a bit weird in itself.
But if you need help with the defences, or I need a warm meal and a bed for the night.
Well, I'm sure I'm sure someone could put you to use, but I couldn't tell you much more. I just do what I'm told.
Where's your commander?
Honestly, mate, I don't know at the moment. He'll be somewhere in the village.
I'll take a look.
Okay, so with that, he sort of nods to you, goes back to picking up a few more of the arrows that he's gathering together. As you sort of step into the village, there's a lot of typical sort of houses, a couple of outhouses and such. But what does catch your eye is one of the bigger buildings does look like the tavern.
At that time. I'll go to the tavern.
It's 8 o'clock somewhere.
So above the door is a
high noon somewhere.
It's high noon. Yeah. So above the door is a plaque that says the Tarnished Goblet with an image of a tarnished goblet.
Good name. I'll walk in.
Okay, so you walk in and it's about what you'd expect for a small village. There's a few tables, each with 4 or 5 chairs or stools next to them. There's a bar. There's a man at the bar currently cleaning a couple of glasses. Doesn't actually look like he needs to clean the glasses. All the glasses you can see are spotless. Doesn't look like he's had a lot of custom recently.
Okay, I'll go up to the bar. Shut us in whiskey if you don't mind.
You have to give me a moment. I'll just have a look what I got. So he goes under the bar, and you hear a couple of clinks, and he stands back up with an amber liquid filled bottle, and pulls out a slightly larger than you'd expect shot glass, but not ridiculous.
I'm not going to complain.
Pours it out for you. Says that'll be 2 silver.
There you go, my good sir.
Okay, so he takes the silver, puts it away, or if it's gold, then he gives you change as appropriate, and you have your drink. So, come back to you in a moment.
Cool.
So, Cassandra.
All roads lead to pub.
So,
Well, that's where I'm going.
same sort of thing. So
Yeah.
you come from a different side again. So there is a gate pretty much on every side of this little town. And you come up, and again you see a couple of the guards rushing around, looking fairly busy. One of them sort of gives you the eye, looks you up and down, smiles and nods at you.
She would break him.
That very nearly drops a couple of the swords he's carrying.
I'm just going to stroll past and head for what looks like the pub.
Okay. So, once again, you come to the Tarnished Goblet, same description, I won't give the full thing every time.
Yep.
You walk in, and again, you see the tavern at large, and there's only one patron there, who is... Describe yourself.
So, 6 foot-ish, brown hair, dark brown eyes, 5 o'clock stubble. You're not quite sure how he's keeping it that well maintained, since the rest of his clothes look like crap. Basically, John Wayne wannabe.
So, as you walk in, the barman sort of looks up from after having gone back to cleaning one of his glasses, almost perturbed by the fact that there is a second person in this fairly empty establishment.
This is most orthodox.
G'day.
2 things. 1, can I have a pint? 2, is there anything that I can do to help out to get a bed for the night?
I was just about to ask the same question.
Depends on what you want a pint of, and I'm sure you'll be able to find work around here. At some point, I'm sure the captain of the guard will come through, but
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Awesome.
if anyone's got any work for you, I imagine it'll be him.
Strongest you've got.
So again looking perturbed, given that people don't usually buy
Strong
expensive
booze.
and strong booze. Takes a moment, walks through a door to the side of the bar. You hear a little bit of shuffling, something that sounds like a bang, a muffled ah, and he comes back out with a very small cask. I do have some elven wine. As poncy as that sounds, it's strong stuff. Although you don't normally drink it in pints, you drink it in halves.
I think the lady said a pint.
Right.
Can have a pint and a half pint glass.
So takes one of the pint glasses, fills it up with the cask, puts it to you and says, "That'll be 2 gold, please."
Sure. Better be worth it.
So takes it, puts it by. Give me a moment.
I'm going to be moving and sitting down on one of the things. I'm not going to be sat at the bar.
Yeah,
How many
that's
silver
fine.
is it? Is it 10 silver per gold?
It is, yeah. So
Break down my currency.
Hoff.
The half.
No.
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
No.
Just a chorus of no.
No.
So Hoff, after your last job, they unfortunately had no more work available for you. So you've had to wander trying to find something. This is the first town you've come to since that little fun. You've wandered through the forest a little bit, given that it's shaded you from some of the warm days that you've been having, and you come to the side of this small town. I'll say it again: palisade walls, doesn't look well defended to speak of, but there are guards rushing about.
Okay. Sitting on the back of my cart, I'll look up and then just flick the reins of my dog. Come on, yep. And ride on into town on my dog cart.
Okay, so as you ride on into town, one of the guards who looks like he's sharpening up a spear just almost stops and stares, idly just still sharpening the spear. As he's doing so, the whetstone actually falls out of his hand because he just doesn't seem to notice because he's so confused by the sight of a gnome with a dog in cart. Because obviously, it's more common to see the horse in cart. And he does. As he's doing that, he cuts his hands. So,
Right. I'll
you head towards.
I'll doff my pointy hat at him.
Yeah, he's sort of. Just sort of looking behind himself as he's.
Making sure it wasn't a hallucination.
Come on, Duff.
Yeah.
Come on, Duff. You rest soon. Rest you soon.
Okay, so it doesn't look like there's any sort of major stables or anything around. In fact, the one sort of stable you've seen just by the side of one of the houses was completely empty. As you're sort of going along, you see the biggest building that you can see at the moment looks like the tavern.
Let's get a drink. Let's get you a drink as well. I'm gonna pull my little cart up, which is full of my worldly possessions, up to the tavern. Unhitch Daffodil, my big draft dog, and walk into the tavern, leading her.
Okay.
I'm about 2.5 feet high, so the dog's head is actually sort of higher. Is about equal to the top of my hat.
Okay. So you walk in, and at this point, so when you walk in, the barman is sort of recorking what looks like a cask of some kind of alcohol. There's two other patrons, say as he describes himself before. Describe yourself.
Sorry.
See,
Sorry.
there was a plan behind this.
So, see this woman who's relatively tall, but
Everybody is tall. Good to me.
she's got bright auburn hair and she's wearing a set of scale mail. She's got a signet ring on her left hand and a very ornate necklace, but her clothes look ragged.
Yeah. So she is currently sat at one of the tables. Sorry.
She has one blue eye and one green eye.
Yeah.
So she's sat at one of the tables. He's currently sat at the bar. The barman at this point just sort of.
Well, barman, it seems I haven't found you at the rush hour.
We haven't had a rush hour in weeks.
That's what I figured.
What can I get you and your fine furry companion?
Good day. I need to park my cart and I need some lodgings for myself and my dog here. Oh yeah, and drinking a meal would we most appreciate it.
Well, we currently don't have any meals on. We weren't really expecting guests, if I'm going to be honest. But
a drink will do.
so I've probably got a little bit of cold meat around the side, if that'll do you.
Yeah, the dog that'll do for the dog.
Right, so,
and a bowl of water.
Bring on the meat!
I can do water. All right, lass.
I'm gonna walk up to the bar. I've been travelling all day. My mousy coloured sort of beard and hair is a bit is a bit dirty and matted with sort of the dirt, the sweat of the road. I'm just wearing a sort of a tan coloured leather vest. My jacket is just bundled, just thrown on the back of my cart. And my very beaten sort of burgundy gnome hat. It's sort of got a kink in it and a feather sort of sticking out of one side.
Okay, so you wanted some water for the dog, a little bit of meat. She wants it. I'll get her meat in a minute. And what did you want for yourself, sorry? What did you want for yourself, sorry?
I'll have a half of whatever ale or mead you've got on.
Reach something to the bar.
I'll take a second as well as possible.
So under the bar, so he pulls out a what looks like maybe half-litre bottle of mead. Pops it on the desk for you. Pops out to the side, grabs some meat, and what looks like a small wooden bowl. Doesn't actually look like a dog bowl, but he puts some water in it. Brings it up, puts it on the floor for the dog, along with some meat.
I will find me a table. Climb up onto a chair, call the dog over to me, tell it to sit, and give it the water, give it its food and water, and then I'll sit there.
Yeah, so for what you ask for, he just asks for 3 copper because mead isn't the most expensive thing here.
It's 100 per gold, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 100 copper to gold. It's 10 copper to a silver.
Yep.
And we're not using Electrum because fuck 5 gold pieces.
Let's just put a big cross through there.
Oh. Hello.
Is your hound friend there friendly?
Oh, she's very friendly. She's quite docile. It's a good characteristic in a draft dog.
Do you mind if
Yeah. She goes. She is called Daffodil, but I call her Daffy.
Oh,
So he passes you some meat as well. You notice he hasn't actually charged you for the meat just because it doesn't look like it's fresh. It doesn't look like it's off, but it just looks like it's been there maybe a day. So he just sort of hands you a couple of pieces of meat, not too worried about it, and surprised that he's actually selling any alcohol. I'll say gets you another shot of whiskey. Was it you wanted?
And
And a what, sorry? Oh, okay, yeah.
Meat,
And again, charges you the same as he did before. So, carry on.
Firstly, can I please know what date it is? I know it's 1623. I just want to know what season we're in and the day.
Is, what did I have as the
You
month?
done 1623. Octonia.
Oh, yeah, so it's Octonia. So it's it's the 17th of Octonia.
17th Octonia, 1623.
Yeah.
And what time of day is it?
10:30 in the morning, best guess. So, for reference, I've pretty much used the standard Gregorian calendar that it is Gregorian, isn't it?
Yeah.
That we're used to, but I've just slightly changed the names and the months to make them a little bit more fantasy. And I fucked off leap years because no one likes leap years. So yeah, just for reference there. So Octonia is October. So it's October 17th. So yeah, so Makari. So you've come to the edge of the small town after a little bit of wandering. A little bit sort of tussled because you're not exactly used to forest life. Seeing the palisade wall with a few people rushing around.
Okay. After I go to step through the gateway, does anyone look at me, come near to me?
As you walk through, you've actually managed to find a moment where a lot of the guards aren't around this particular gate. As you sort of look around, almost expecting someone to say something, someone sort of comes up along the side of the palisade, out from what looks like a small storehouse. Sort of takes a look at you like,
"Be ye friend or be ye foe?"
And then sort of shakes his head and then carries on and sort of walks straight across you, going, you're not quite sure where.
Oh no, maybe I'm invisible again. From where I'm standing in the sort of gateway, what prominent landmarks are there in the town? So I know that there is a tavern, and then there is the palisade walls. Are there any other?
There doesn't look like anything prominent per se. There's a lot of typical sort of small houses and homes. There's the odd stable, which they all look empty from what you can see from where you are. There's a couple of outhouses and storehouses. From where you are, you can't see a lot more than the tavern.
Okay, so that's probably the most prominent building I can see. No, mayor house, guard house, library, church.
From a best guess, you think based on the size of the village, the tavern's probably where a lot of people will gather for anything interesting going on. But you think things like prayer and sort of mayor gatherings are probably done in someone's house, just because they don't seem to have maybe the money to put together something bigger.
Right, I will head to the Tarnished Goblet then.
When you get towards the Tarnished Goblet, as you sort of come towards it and it almost shifts as you're moving, you see a little bit further down what looks like maybe a guardhouse. Again, not very big. It actually looks more like a normal home has been slightly retrofitted, and by slightly I mean it's like they've taken out the shutters and tried to put in some bars. It's very ramshackle, but nothing particularly impressive.
I will take note of it as I step in.
Less iron guard, more neighbourhood watch.
Sort of thing, yeah. So you step in, and again, so you see the three of them. They've given some fairly lovely descriptions. Barman's sort of there finishing, putting a couple of bits down, corking up whiskey bottle, wiping a few of the bits of meat off the bar counter. He sort of looks at you. Sort of almost disbelieving. You have the feeling the people in this town may not have seen anyone that looks quite like you before.
No. I am wearing those layered robes, and then one of those shawls that come up over your face, and then a shawl over my head, but I can't really hide all of me, like my hands or that part of my face. So
yes, as I see him looking in disbelief, I'm like, "You're not dreaming."
I didn't think I was, lassie. I mean, the fact that that's a fourth customer in less than half an hour, and I haven't seen more than about 2 customers in maybe 2 weeks, and you don't see people with blue skin around here.
It's good to see some interesting people. It's been lonely on the road.
Interesting is a way to put it, my gnome and friend. So, how can I help?
You seem to make a large assumption on the priorities of my pods. I'm here to seek more scholarly knowledge.
So I don't really offer books. I can offer you a drink, maybe put your feet up for 10 minutes.
Would anyone in this small society be able to indulge me of great erudition in the accomplishments of myself?
Probably not.
Sad. Would you have a room to sell for the evening?
Potentially. I might need to go and do a little bit of sort of dusting, because like I mentioned, we haven't had any customers for a little bit, but
don't worry. If you've got if you've got a stable, I'll sleep in there with the dog. If you've got no other beds, it's fine.
I mean, it gets cold.
I've been traveling nearly 2 weeks. It's fine.
Well,
a roof over my head is a luxury.
If you want to pull up a stool for a few minutes, I can go and make sure a room's sort of suitable for you.
Well, I'm not too fastidious, so that's fine.
My vocation is
Right.
is quite outdoorsy.
So, Carson.
It's night time now. No.
It's really not. It's really not.
Late afternoon.
So, you've come to the side of this palisade walled small village. You've been sleeping rough for a couple of weeks now, and to be honest, you're just glad to see somewhere that might actually have a bed rather than just a pile of leaves or whatever bedroll.
Mm-hmm. No, this bedroll is starting to smell.
Of you.
Yes.
So as you come up, you see sort of a few people rushing around. There looks to be sort of a guard who's sat nursing what looks like a small injury in his hand. Spear next to him with a little bit of blood trickling down the side of the blade.
And that, kids, is what we call a callback.
Yeah, I was thinking, he needs to get that checked. Is he the only guard around, or is there one basically going to be passing if I was to go into the town?
At the moment, a lot of them seem to be rushing around the edge. You sort of spot one who looks like he's kicking the side of the palisade a bit, almost making sure it's still sturdy and not
Still
rotting.
standing.
Yep, still there.
I was like, in that case, I'm going to call over to him. It's like, excuse me. Yeah, no. Does this place have an inn?
Yeah, it's the big building just over there.
Ah, thank you. And I just stroll on in.
Okay, sort of. It goes back to what he was doing. So, you wander across to the tavern. Tavern is the Tarnished Goblet. You walk in, and you see this motley crew in front of you. There's a barman who looks like he was just putting a couple of bits down and getting ready to sort of head towards a small set of stairs just the other side of the bar. And he 5 in a day. None of you local. This is. Apologies. I'll get to your room in a moment, lass. What can I get you?
Actually, you got a room for the night.
Well, I mean,
Even if it's just a bed in a corner, a bed would be lovely.
Yeah, that's fine. You for the odd one house, but alright, you guys have to wait a little bit while I dust some stuff down. I've not had guests for a while, so I apologise.
Yeah, can you be on that
bit of a rush on, friend.
No, just a bit.
Yeah, it's just, I've not had a rush like this in a little while, and definitely not such a diverse bunch, if I'm going to be honest.
If it makes your life easier, I don't mind sharing with someone.
I think that's more down to them than you, my friend.
I'm not saying I'm doing first, I'm just saying it's open.
But yeah, let's say a couple of people have been looking for work. Do you want a drink while you're waiting, mate?
Please, a pint of ale. Whatever's good.
That's a loaded
Try
question.
this stuff. It's great.
I think that might be a bit strong for him.
Just something to warm the cockles. It's a bit chilly out.
So he pours a pint of ale up. Be 2 copper, please.
Gold coin.
He sort of divvies out change, gives you sort of silver and copper back.
Crap, I'm running out of one.
Thank you.
This guy just gave me a 50. Why?
So,
Worst moments in retail.
No, that's not that
Why
one.
breaking the 100 when you work at the candy shop?
so he pops upstairs.
Ouch.
You assume to clean out a couple of the rooms. Again, as it sounds, doesn't seem to have been a lot of people around recently. But say, describe yourself.
Yes, I am. I've got my face uncovered because I got and the hood of my cloak down. But otherwise, I'm wearing your typical set of traveller's clothes. It looks a little bit raggedy at this point, but you can definitely tell they're layers. And also a black furry cloak of some description. But otherwise, I look kind of a little bit weathered. So I've definitely got the facial hair going, pretty much like this, to be honest. Otherwise, my hair is down and it's getting a bit lengthy.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and I've got my my backpack, loads of shit in it.
So each of you sort of sipping your drinks or, absolutely chugging them, depending on what your individual fancies are. The guy's gone for a good sort of 10-15 minutes as he's sort of preparing rooms, as your best guess. After a little bit of time, he sort of comes down, sort of wiping his brow off a little bit of dust over his hands. So apologies for that. Like I said, we haven't had guests for a while. If I'm going to be honest, we've not seen a lot of people in the town recently.
No bother to us, sir.
So what with all the goblin attacks? I assume people have just been scared away a lot.
Goblin attacks.
There's been goblin attacks.
That smells like
When she hears goblin
goblins.
attacks, Cassandra's going to stand up, sort of like push the chair behind her, draw a sword and go, "Where are the little bastards?"
actually none here, lass.
I've
You
got
won't be
some
able to pull that out.
I've got some experience fighting off goblins myself. Tracked into their lairs a few times. Maybe if we speak to the local burgmeister, maybe we can. Maybe there's a bit of coin in it for us. I'm looking for work.
See, there's the
same here.
problem. What I've heard from the guard captain recently. Apparently, there's not been a lot of finding of any goblin lairs going on. Something about they always attack at night, but everyone we've sent looking and every messenger we've sent out to up to the capital to try and get some help down here, no one's come back. It's just been nothing.
When you first came through, the soldier said dwarf attacks to you. Now the barman's saying goblin attacks to you, by the way.
Although, I thought it was dwarves.
No, he said attacks. He didn't say dwarf attacks.
I mentioned dwarves at the beginning
Oh.
as an overall thing. But
No, the soldier said it to him.
okay.
Both of them.
Either way, both are a menace.
Both of them. Yeah, both of them. Sorry, my name is my name's Hoff Spitzvig, by the way.
Zach Hawkins.
Pleasure to make your acquaintance. Very good. As I've been on the road for a while now, not had much company. It's good. I'm quite surprised as well to see so many people suddenly arriving here.
I think it's fair to say that all of us seem to look like we've been on the road for some time.
These are hard times.
Yeah, you've been travelling a couple of weeks. Where you come from?
Well, I mean, I originally came from Castlegar. I'm looking for work.
Yeah, so that one. Yeah, I've come down from the north. North of here generally. So I haven't seen a lot on the ways down.
No, I mean, I've avoided a few. I've avoided trouble as best I could. But unfortunately, for me, trouble normally means employment.
As you're talking, you don't need a perception to hear this. You hear what sounds like a loud bang. The likelihood is a lot of you wouldn't have heard a sound like this before. What knowledges are you trained in? In fact, what knowledges is everyone trained in?
Knowledge.
The only one who won't need to worry about it is you. Give me a moment.
I am the fighter. I hit him.
I don't think acrobatics will help in this.
Oh, you mean skills?
Unless I need to somersault
Yeah,
on
so
it,
very-
at least I'm fine.
I've got
So very
History.
specifically.
What do you mean by knowledges?
Okay, so when you have the knowledge ones, you've got things like nature,
Oh,
history,
I see.
and those kind of things.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that you're specifically trained in with the little
Yeah.
circle. For
I've
them.
got animal handling, nature. What have I got that? Perception.
Investigation.
Yeah, closest I've got is insight or survival, but they're
Perception.
not necessarily.
Yeah,
So
or
with-
history.
History, you can roll that. You'll know, but again, I'll get to it in a moment.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't want to lose my page.
So for the three of you, it's a very loud bang, and you're sort of a little bit unsure what that is. You might have heard a similar sound, but you can't quite place it.
You say history?
Yeah.
22.
Nice.
Okay. So you've heard of things like this. You've never seen one. You've never heard one in person. But you've heard of this new invention called a firearm. well, new. They've been around for a couple of years now, and they've been slowly picking up in popularity. Once they were exceedingly rare, now they're just quite rare. But at best guess, your deduction is that sounds like a firearm. You know it's a firearm.
I stand up, drawing a crossbow. Gunfire.
What's gunfire?
I turn to the bump. Space where everyone's been talking in a group. I've been pulled out a score and I've just been writing. I'm doing actually what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I turn to the barkeeper and go, do the sentinels here use firearms of jurisdiction of protection?
Them's fancy words.
Think a crossbow that shoots faster and hits harder.
Do the soldiers use guns here?
Oh, the captain's got a gun. He's about the only one, I think. To be honest, I was surprised enough that he has one. I heard they're pretty rare. At that moment, the door of the tavern swings open, and there is a man there with a scarf around his neck, what looks like a fairly nice, if a bit battered hat with a feather in it. He's got a long leather duster, and he is holding a strange, slightly curved tube in his hand with a little bit of smoke pouring out the tip. He says,
I'm jealous.
and he steps in and says, I heard there's some folks who've turned up in the village, and you all looked apparently somewhat capable. For anyone who's hoping to get a bit of pay, this might be the time. There's some goblins who are attacking the village. If you can help, we'll do what we can to reward you.
If there's pay, lead the way.
So what we'll need you to do is we'll need you to look around the town, because we've got the gates covered, but some of them slippery bastards always get through.
Understood?
With that, he
take my
steps
things.
straight back out.
Good job I never took my backpack off.
After a couple of moments, as you're sort of preparing bits and pieces, you hear another loud bang, which you can only assume is the same thing.
Okay. I will tell Daffy to stay, and then I'm going to go to my cart and get my things. Maybe my crossbow and my other hand axe.
Okay, so as you step out, obviously you see sort of the back of the man who's walking off towards one of the gates, his sort of duster blowing around a little bit. So you see a few of the guards at that gate with bows firing off towards what looks like the forest. You look over to one of the other gates, you see a similar thing, a few of the guards there. Everyone else stepping out?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm basically ready to step out. Oh yeah, sorry. I finished my ale first.
Actually, yeah. Then I step out.
Okay, so you down your drinks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to walk up to the bar. Can you look after this for me? And I clunk a massive backpack onto the bar.
Yeah, shouldn't be a problem, provided you keep any of those things from getting in it.
Got it. As I walk back past, I notice that I've missed a sip of my drink.
Oh, down that as you go past.
Down it, pick up the last bit of meat as I draw my greatsword and
So
step out.
Can you?
I step out last.
You step out last. Okay. So, as you're stepping out, a few of you step out, sort of looking around, getting your bearings, seeing where things are. You step out as Hoff's getting the last couple of bits out of the cart, and everyone roll me a perception check.
That is
where's
plus 3, 17.
Oh. 5.
My crossbow may interest you, as it's
I'm a little bit blurry.
it's a crossbow that's about as big as me. It would be considered a light
6.
crossbow for a human.
You know what, I have a minus
But
one in my
there's
perception, yeah?
there's an intricate lever and gear.
I still rolled worse than you.
What did you roll?
I rolled a 2 and I got 5.
The
Right,
crossbow has an
I
elaborate
rolled a 7.
lever action with lots of gearing to assist me in the drawing of it.
What was your perception?
His was 15. So, the two of you, as you're getting the last bits out, as you're sort of getting ready and looking around, sort of heading to the left, just around the side of one of the buildings, you see what looks like a couple of small things scampering around. What looks like maybe a torch in one of their hands. I said they sort of look to be going away from where you currently are.
I have preferred enemy goblin.
Oh.
It is definitely a goblin.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bastard.
They've probably got their lair nearby. It should be fairly simple to track them to their lair, and then I'm sure with all of us we can clear them out.
What?
Well, the goblins
Where?
outside the walls. They're scurrying into the woods.
It looks like it's inside the walls. It looks like it's gone round between a few of the buildings, and like you saw,
They're
it's sort of
scurrying
like
around.
at a torch.
We should be able to. It should be a fairly simple matter to shoo them out of the settlement, and then we will track them to their lair.
So by shoo, I assume you mean kill, right?
Well,
He means hit them with his shoe. Of course he does.
Well, goblins are a cowardly, so we should only need to kill a few of them, and then the rest will run.
I suppose you're right. You alright, love?
Can you tell she's just a lover about it?
So while you're talking, you start to see a little bit of smoke rising from a couple of buildings over, roughly where you two think that goblin has headed.
Right. Onwards.
Yeah, right. I'm going to draw my elaborate crossbow. I'm going to span my crossbow. You put it on the ground. I've got a big lever. Let us. The hunt is on.
I might need to borrow that design at some point.
Sadly,
Now's not the time for chatting, now's the time for killing!
I'm already walking.
I haven't drawn any weapons yet.
That's the first mistake.
You're really giving the indication of a high amount of vitriol towards them.
What?
So are you all sort of staying together as you go around the corner?
yeah.
I'm going to follow the crazy gnome.
Well, yeah, because I'm just looking around because I have no idea where we're headed at this point.
So as you go around the side of the building, you see another building a little bit further on, and there's about four or five goblins there. One of which has been setting fire to the side of this building. There's a little bit of fire starting to lick up the side. Yeah, so as obviously because you're not being stealthy or anything, one of them sort of turns around and goes, "Look, there's some there. Let's go and kill them."
I'm waiting for the description. I'll wait. It's okay. Put my hands in the air.
Okay, so they look, and you can hold that up to the thing.
Oh.
They look a little bit like this, although they are slightly more covered than that. They do actually have a little bit more covering their torsos and such. Not armoured as such, but it looks like just warm clothes.
So they're a bit more modest.
What knowledge check is it to identify them? Because goblins are common, but I've never seen one apart from in books. So what would I need to do?
These ones would be nature.
Okay. Hopefully I get it horrifically wrong and I'm going to rename them.
You give us a sort of Latin type name, Goblinus Orgia.
12. Do I know what it is?
You do know what they are. They're fairly common fare. They're sort of fairly well known vermin type creatures. They don't often attack villages quite this organised. It's usually a lot more ramshackle than people on the road. So this is a little bit out of character for them. But
Do I know if they're dim-witted?
they're a little bit stupid.
Okay.
So, if everyone could please roll me initiative.
Woo! Oh, I'm going to waste that now.
Witness.
Natural 20.
Yeah, mine's a waste as well.
Well, you got a natural 20 as well?
No,
19.
And we had our decks for that, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Once you've got 2.
17.
Okay,
21.
21.
23.
Was 23.
Bastard! Oh, wait, you've probably got higher decks than I do.
4.
What, as in +4?
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
damn. Yes.
After 21, anyone above 15? So
17.
17 and 16.
Yeah, I got 15.
Okay, so
I rolled a 16, so my initiative is 16.
That sounds like my Thursday conundrums.
This is a good exchange.
You've definitely had more of the aftermarket non-sorted prawn shells than I.
Yeah,
Zach. Yep. So you're first.
Yep.
They look to be about 30 feet from you.
Is that crossbow range? Or is that outside of crossbow?
What kind of
Very
crossbow do you got?
sure it is.
Yeah.
Because hand crossbow is 30.
That's a
Yeah.
That's in range.
there's the
light
light crossbow.
crossbow.
Is a separate thing.
Yeah, light crossbow. I think it was more like 60 feet. You know,
Here you are
standard
in
range.
range.
Woo!
So I've got a light crossbow.
Yes, I also have a light crossbow. Yay!
Crossbow buddy.
Crossbow buddies!
I'm gonna try and probably fuck up my first shot.
That's cool. I've got advantage on any survival check when tracking them,
Oh.
and as well as intelligence checks for recalling information about them.
14 to hit?
14? Yep. No, it doesn't. Sorry. So 14 actually misses. So the crossbow bolt sort of slinks past its neck, hitting the wall behind it, catching into the flames.
Crap. I'll start reloading.
How many are there? Sorry.
5.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you going to move?
No, just gonna start reloading.
Sure. Okay. Awesome.
Cool, so they're about 30 foot away.
About 30 foot.
That'd be charging range.
Okay.
So, still not drawing any weapons. I'm going to charge at the nearest one. You know,
Okay.
with my fists.
Oh, monkey magic!
Monkey magic!
Yes, because I figured I'm going to do that. Now, do you get bonuses in
Your,
D&D 5th for
flavored,
charging? Or
yes.
is that just as part of an attack action?
Generating prawn shells.
But prawn shells are horrible to eat. That doesn't make sense.
Or does it? Yeah, there is no charge there. That's spell. So
It's
I
like
believe
the
you
non-sponsored
do.
flavoured code.
no, so it's just move and an action, isn't it? So
Okay.
Yep. So I'll have a look to be sure, but I don't think you get anything for charging.
no,
Oh.
that's fine. I can just roll with that.
You can roll with that, can you?
Yeah, I'll just roll with that.
No.
Because Newfoundlands look really cute. Even though they're huge.
Otherwise, yes. So charge. I'm going to hit the first one with my fist.
Okay. Roll to fist it.
Oh, this is a good start. 9.
Okay, so
he merlaned it.
you run over, and as you swing your fist out, the goblin sort of steps back slightly, and your fist just whiffs straight past its face. So,
In which case, I'm then going to use bonus action for an additional attack.
yeah, you can do that because you're a monk.
Mm-hmm. So let's try that again. See if I can get another fist in. Much better. 16.
16 does hit.
Yay!
So, roll your damage.
That sounded dodgy.
Max damage. 6.
6 damage. Okay, so as your first one misses, I'd imagine at that point, based on the fact that you whiffed, you smack him in the face with your elbow, full on point to nose. You hear something of a crack. A little bit of blood starts to leak out. I think he fairly solidly walloped that one. That's quite nice. Yeah, he's a little bit dazed. Okay.
He's still standing.
That's
Little bugger.
move action and bonus. So
Yep.
off.
Right. Right, line up a shot with my my crossbow
Okay.
on one of these dirty gobbos. One that's not fighting him.
Okay.
Don't want
Roll,
any accidents.
roll to ranged skewer.
Okay, let's see. So my dex is so that's 4.
Yeah, no, unfortunately that one flies fairly wild, right above the top of the building. Not even sure where the bolt actually went.
Right, we'll reload ready for next turn.
Okay, you moving at all, or are you pretty much staying where you were?
I'll stay where I am.
Okay, no.
I'm getting close to them.
Cassandra.
That's not what I do.
Have they moved from where they set the fire?
Currently, they haven't had time to.
Okay. So I'm gonna run up,
Mhm.
and rather than attack one of them, as I'm running, I'm gonna grab my water skin and empty it onto the fire.
Okay.
Put it
reasonable.
out.
So it doesn't look like it fully puts it out because the fire's had a couple of moments based on the talking to sort of catch a little bit, but it does. You hear like a hissing, and it largely extinguishes it, but there's still a little bit of flickering towards the bottom that's now struggling to catch with some of the slightly dampened area.
Awesome.
I'll consider that a bonus action.
Okay. So I still get an attack.
You still get an attack.
Cool. And then I'm gonna, swing at one of the little buggers.
Okay.
Swing for fences.
Swing, as I noticed you've got a big bloody greatsword on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a 24.
24 will hit.
I rolled an 18.
Oh, okay.
Damn.
24 definitely hit.
So do I add anything to the damage, or is it just the flat?
Strength.
Yeah, you add your strength modifier to damage.
Okay. 10 damage.
Okay, so you're up to one on the side, the one that actually has the torch in his hand, and as you pull the greatsword, it just cleaves straight through its shoulder, right down to the other side of its hip, and it just splits in two and falls down dead.
Come on!
Goblins, yo.
Well, can't be impressed.
So, that's Cassandra Macaria.
Would you say that the fire within the building is the size of a small campfire or larger?
I wouldn't say it's larger than a small campfire, especially with her dumping a bit on
Okay.
at this point. It's like the catchings of a campfire.
Okay. I can move and take one action.
Yep.
So I'm going to move, so I'm within 10 foot of the fire,
Okay.
and cast Prestidigitation, which allows the instantaneous snuffing of a candle or torch or a small campfire to turn out the rest of the flame.
Yep.
And it doesn't require spell components.
That's fine. No, that's not a problem. So yeah, so with that one, it is a small enough fire that the prestidigitation just snuffs the rest of it out, and the smoke starts to sort of dwindle and disappear.
Snuff.
So you
The
have
adventuring stuff doesn't work out. You two can make some pretty good.
anything you
good
can do as a
paths.
bonus action, or is that everything? Is there anything you're able to do as a bonus action, or do you not have any at the moment?
I don't believe I have any at the moment.
Nope, that's absolutely fine. So that can come later. So the goblin that you have elbowed in the face.
Broken nose, probably at least.
So he sort of goes cross-eyed, trying to look at his broken nose, failing a little bit, and then he attempts to swing at you with the little scimitar in his hand.
Yeah, I was about to say try it, but he's probably going to hit me now.
Does a 22 hit you?
Yes!
It's not a bad starting roll.
That's double my IAC.
Yeah. Well, what's everyone's armor looking like?
11.
Oh,
Okay, so he hits you for 3 points of damage.
Ow!
Oh dear.
Prick!
Sorry, less impressive on the damage. So yeah.
Still, at this level, 3 damage is still, it's fairly sizable.
And I say, as he does that, he sort of moves around the edge of you a little bit to try and, get out of the way of that elbow, but only sort of moves 5 feet around the edge of you. Next goblin.
So you tore my clothes.
So, one of the goblins, who was narrowly missed by you.
Yep.
He levels a short bow at you.
Yep.
Does a 15 hit your AC?
Yep.
Okay. He hits you for 4 points of damage.
Just sorry, because I've not done a lot of this.
No, it's fine.
How does dodging work?
So dodging.
Because dodge says it takes a turn, attacker has disadvantage, and dex save has advantage. Do you have to state in your turn that your action is going to be a dodge, even
Yes.
though you are unaware of the attack coming?
Yeah, so the way it works is you take the dodge action, which means you basically spend your turn not attacking and keeping out of the way of any incoming attacks.
Okay.
So that's why it gives attacks against you disadvantage, and dex. You get your dex throws with advantage because you're keeping an eye out for anything coming in.
Cool. That's why I was asking, because I wasn't sure.
Yep, that's fine. Yeah, so
I forgot to add the AC when I took my dex on.
Oh.
did you forget to add your dex?
It's no, that hits me anyway, but
It
it's
was,
Oh, okay.
like literally
it's
spot on.
inconsequential.
Oh, okay. No worries. Okay, so one of the other ones
Mm-hmm.
is going to go for you, having seen you cut its friend in half. Try and get you with its scimitar.
Yep.
Let's cut the dice. Does a 7 hit you?
No.
So the other one, also having seen you do that, is also going to go for you.
Yep. La, 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 la. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What's the crit range in the greatsword?
Everything has
Yes.
a crit of
Are they raisins or peanuts?
There isn't
Raisins.
anything.
There
There
won't be
are
peanuts.
things that can up
Sorry,
your crit range.
Right.
but
I forget because
that's
one friend
not
is
one,
allergic
unfortunately.
to nuts, but not peanuts. So I get confused as to who's allergic
So
to
in
what.
5th edition, you don't roll to confirm crits. If you roll a
Okay.
20, it's a crit.
Right.
Well, that's the brace for you because you don't have to roll to confirm it.
Where's your EpiPen? Because I like to know where
That
they are.
one
It's in my bag in my room in the current
deals you
Okay.
6 points of damage for a hit.
Okay.
Good to know.
as he bites into the side of side right into the flesh just above your
You
hip.
won't be able to tell us.
He said, "We can kill him."
These goblins are fairly competent at this point.
Oh,
Which
goblins
one?
speaking in common.
They are, yes.
Yeah.
Has someone got a piece of paper?
Yes.
And with that, Zach's turn again. Okay, so you're going to shoot at him again.
Ooh.
Ooh.
And what's the crit rate on?
It's all
It
20.
just says
everything is a 20.
20.
Boo. Okay,
You just
so
have to take things straight away.
25 to hit.
Right between the eyes.
Very much so.
Oh damn. Plus 6. 11 damage.
11 damage.
Yep.
So as he looks like he's trying to pull off another arrow, he lifts his head up as he's.
13.
So he lifts his head up as he's about to try and fire the next shot, and as he lifts his head up, the bolt hits him square in the throat. And he gargles and falls down dead as well.
Reloading again.
Okay. So, are you moving at all, or are you staying there still?
Reloading.
Okay, Carson.
Okay. So I don't need to move because I've still got one of the buggers in my face.
You do?
I'm going to kick it.
Okay.
Can I kick it?
Yes, you can!
Well, maybe.
Roll to boot.
No, you can!
Does a 22 hit the bastard?
Oh, damn.
That's the one you've already hit, yeah?
Yeah.
And how much damage was it you did last time?
I did 6.
Yeah. Your minimum damage is enough to kill it.
Okay, yeah. My minimum damage is 3 at this point, so.
So as you kick out, you feel some of the bones in
You
its
had a
chest
lower
cave.
initiative turn than me,
No, it wasn't.
didn't you?
No, no.
I guess I rolled a natural 20 on my
Oh,
initiative.
this one you wasted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He rolled
Yeah.
low for arriving in, but then the actual initiative was quite high.
It's just used to him rolling low. That's what it is.
Yeah. No, that is generally the way to look at it.
But yeah, with this one, so you've elbowed him in the face. You've reset a little bit as he's caught you with his scimitar. You've kicked him square in the chest, and you've just felt ribs cave under the pressure.
I was like, haha. Are there any other ones right near me?
So the nearest one at the moment is 10 feet from you, but unlike Pathfinder, with D&D 5, you don't have to restrict movement to before you actually make an action. You can use your movement at any point in your turn and between any of your actions.
Cool.
Because there was the one with the bow, which is now down, and there was.
There's currently 2 both swinging at her.
Okay.
He's just killed one, you've just killed one, and she's already killed one.
Look at your cheat sheet if you're not sure what to do.
Yeah, no, it's just can you use a bonus action because it specifies additional attack?
Yes.
So can I use a like athletics to trip someone or try and do something like that, or is it just purely
grappling.
attack?
That would be a
Shoving.
full action rather than a bonus.
No, okay, that's cool.
I was going to ask what counts as a bonus action. Is it specific things or?
Most actions that can be used as bonuses will specify in their description what they are and how they can be used as a bonus.
Okay.
But other things, something like just chucking your water skin over a thing, I'm happy to consider a bonus because you're not putting too much effort and time. You're not like uncorking it and standing there. You just sort of biff water over it.
Oh, yeah. So I wasn't necessarily going to go for a grapple, more of a shove.
Yeah, no. With the way those kind of things work, that would be an athletics test, which would still be an action.
Okay, that's cool. At least I know for next time.
Yeah, the monk one does actually specify you can make an unarmed attack as your bonus action.
Okay, in that case, I'm gonna I'm gonna move
Hit
on.
one in the head.
Yeah, I'm gonna move up to the nearest one to me, which is obviously on her. Is there such a thing as an additional bonus for flanking, or in this one?
There is. You basically have to be able to, the way in squares, you have to be able to put a line from one side to the other from where you are and where your ally is. So in this regard, if you stand pretty much opposite her, either side of a goblin, there is flanking. Bear with me for the bonuses, because...
because it's pretty much advantage or disadvantage, isn't it?
I do believe that's what it does.
I'm going to need an additional d20, because I didn't think of that, because that may come up.
Yeah, fairly sure.
There. got another
Sorry,
one.
apologies. I don't know the rules inside and out, so.
Excuse me.
No.
Never.
I live here. You make a great poltergeist.
Because I can't find it immediately, for the time being, what I'll say is it will give you advantage while you're flanking, and then when I find out exactly what it is it normally does, then we'll adjust accordingly. So yeah, so you'll have advantage for the attack, so roll twice and take the higher result.
No, cool.
I'll figure
Yeah,
out
so
what
so move up to the nearest one. I can get to bonus action. Punt.
Okay.
Well, dice, you have failed me this day.
Ha.
10.
Is that with the advantage?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
I had a 5 and a 6.
No, so even with that, even with it sort of unable to properly focus between the two of you being either side of it, you go for this punt and just whiff entirely as he sort of steps sideways just as you're going for it.
It's like you.
You done moving?
Yep. I'm done moving. I've
Okay.
done everything. So that is the end of my go.
That is. So it's Hoff next.
Right.
As you're all fighting, you hear what sounds like another loud bang.
Right, I'm going to fire another bolt.
Okay.
Actually,
So the big flanking is advantage.
10.
10 unfortunately misses.
Okay.
So as you fire the bolt, it whiffs between Cassandra and the goblin and it hits the side of the wall. So what's your question?
Flanking is advantage.
It is advantage. Ah, fantastic. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Where'd you find that?
Oh wait,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's-
It's it's +4, so it's a 12.
Unfortunately, that was still missed.
Damn.
Because
Okay,
they're
right,
dexy
that's
little
not
buggers.
huge.
Yeah.
Listen, you have called me the person
Yeah, 'cause it's
Google
not-
around here before.
It's not just my dex. It's my I get the weapons as well.
Okay. Are you doing anything else for your turn? You moving?
Yeah, I'll move. I'll try and keep the goblins in my sights.
Okay,
I'll
that's
move as
fine.
much as I have to.
Okay.
Reload.
Cassandra.
Go.
Yep. So the one that he is opposite you with. That
I'm
one
gonna
had
whack
advantage
him.
against.
Looking frustrated at.
Yeah. So you just watched him attempt to punt and miss miserably.
So that's 25. Rolled a 19.
That will hit though.
Now he's being a luck vampire.
If it's you, I don't care.
That's all.
I mean, in her defence, she normally has that kind of luck, but you don't.
Yeah.
Let's go with those two. 15 points of damage.
Yep, so that one, you just plunge the sword straight down into its chest and almost impale it to the floor, if not for the fact that you pull it back before it gets stuck in the ground. Very much.
No, sorry, not 15. What am I talking about? 11.
It's
Still smacked.
yeah, it's very much. You can see black blood coming out before red. It's that
Yeah,
severely.
the bones gave you a little bit of resistance there. Yeah, because
Almost, yeah. You almost hear the bones against metal.
Cool. As long as it doesn't break my sword, I don't care.
Oh no, your sword's fine.
Is it?
Macaria, it's your turn.
I was standing in the doorway of a house they were trying to set on fire.
Okay.
Are there any goblins inside the house?
The house doesn't look open. It looks like they were setting fire to the side. There was a little bit of sort of hay and such that they put there to help catch it, but they don't look like they've gotten inside this particular building. Are you actively looking around for more than? Okay, roll me a perception, please.
16.
Okay, so as they're sort of still fighting here, you can see what looks like another one slinking around the side of another one of the buildings. Again, the one that you can see has a torch in its hand, and it sort of darts off around the side of that building.
I'm going to run off after it.
Okay, so you run forwards.
I will dash after it. Dash.
Okay, so you run forwards, and then as you dash, it's enough to get you around the corner, and you can see another two of them, one with a torch, one without. They don't see you because that was a horrific perception roll. So they don't see you because they're too sort of focused trying to put some hay together to get ready to start setting fire to.
Okay. I can't do anything else.
Okay.
It's my move and my action.
Okay, that's fine. So, one moment. So, the one that's still next to you, despite the fact that his friends are dead, he still looks kind of panicked, and it's fairly obvious he looks kind of panicked. But for some odd reason, he doesn't appear to be backing down at all. And given that you've given splitting headaches to two of his friends, he tries to put the knife in again. There's a 14 hit.
Right on the nose.
That's 3 points of damage to you. As he swipes the scimitar along the side of you, once again breaking up the same side the other one hit.
Motherfucker. Well, at least they haven't made any extra dents in my armour.
Two goblins next where you are. So they're still sort of putting together all this hay. One of them sort of getting it together. The other one is using his action to actively set fire to this hay. So that's pretty much their turn because they didn't see you. They actually haven't noticed you, and you haven't done anything obvious enough to give it away. That's what happens with a 1 on your perception, folks.
If I can seize them.
So that goes all the way back round then to Zach.
Cool. How many else
get the last
know
one.
where I am?
There is one alive that's currently next to her.
Okay.
Not quite being flanked by him because that one's dead because they flanked him.
Does a 16 hit?
16 does hit.
Woohoo!
It's going to die.
7 points damage.
So as this one swiped across the side of you, this crossbow bolt just hits it in the side of the head with a resounding.
Thanks!
So you can also hear the skull cracking as it embeds itself, and it sort of falls sideways.
Welcome, man.
Dead. Which point? Are you moving at all?
Reload.
Okay.
Always keep one in the chamber.
Carson, so that goblin has just fallen dead sideways. Steve?
So is there any others near us, or is that all of them?
Near you, currently no.
So,
That's all the ones we can see at current.
yeah, so. I'm going to make a perception check to see if I can hear or see any more movement around other than us.
Okay.
Ooh, 22.
22. Okay. So with a perception like that, you notice you don't actually see any other goblins or Macaria, but where she was stood, you can see sort of her footprints and sort of dusty dirt, and you can see where they've led off to around the side of a building.
Yeah, so. Blue skin lady is gone. Yeah, no.
Well, I don't.
It's fine. It's easier for me as DM, alright? Don't start.
I just for the.
Well, I know Zach's name.
For the looks of things, she went that way. I'm going to follow.
Alright.
Yeah, I'm going to follow the footprints.
Okay. So
I got 6.
So 30 foot, you can't quite get around the side of the building in that movement.
Nope, that's cool.
But you can take the dash action to move using your action.
May as well. I'll use the dash action to basically get a double move.
Okay, so you move around the side. You can see Macaria. So this time, as you sort of come around the corner, rushing, not particularly being subtle, and because they wasn't one, they look up and say, "Yeah, big people."
Found them.
Oh god.
Currently, they're about 20 feet away from where you are, so not quite close enough for another attack.
That's fine.
Right. So I'm going to get to where I can find. I'm going to find one, and I'm going to shoot it.
Okay, so in order to get round the side to where he's gone, and you've just heard him sort of shouting, I found them. In order to get that far, you'll need to use a move and a dash action to get there in one turn. Unfortunately, you can't quite see enough around the corner to get a shot on them from here.
Right. Well, I'll go to them.
So unfortunately, because it's the dash action, you haven't quite got enough actions left to make an attack.
I've only got little legs.
You don't run hard when I look at you.
So
Word
I'm going
comes
to
to
do the
mind.
same.
So you come around corner as well. Yeah, that's fine. Macaria.
How far away are the goblins from me?
Currently from you about 15 feet.
I take a 5-foot step up, and I'm going to target their torch with a prestidigitation and snuff it out.
Nice.
Ultimate firefighter right here.
It's not prestidigitation anymore, it is just snuff.
So,
Oh, it does multiple actions. I just think it's useful.
so the last action was the one that had the torch was starting to set fire to the hay. At the moment, the entire fire there is not quite the size of a large campfire yet. So it's still a small campfire is worth a fire. As you do it, all of the hay and the torch go out because they're currently in the same place. And the goblins there going and just biffs it. Doesn't go anywhere particularly, just sort of biffs it up in the air and it just sort of falls down next to him. Anything else?
So I'm taking a 5-foot step, I've done that, and then I'm taking a 5-foot step to the side to allow everyone to pass me.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine, no worries. So at that point, sort of frustrated goblin, the one that had the torch pulls out a scimitar and runs over and attempts to gut you. Because
Pig sticker
That was the Olympic torch, you bitch!
for the Goblin Olympics.
does a 20 hit you?
Yes.
What are you doing? Trying to kill us?
Maybe. That's
That's
3
what
points
I'm
of
doing.
damage.
No.
How much damage?
3.
Okay.
Says damage. Okay, and then the other one is going to run up towards you because you're there as well, and his mate's already got the other one. You know, his mate will be enough, clearly.
Yeah, it's like, he wants to come play as he crits me or something.
Also a
Guts
20
me.
to hit you.
Yes.
Smag.
Start gutting me like a fish in a minute.
Also 3 points of damage.
Wow, they are strangely consistent.
Weirdly. And do you want to do one more round before we go on a break? Or
Don't mind.
One more round.
One more
one
round.
more round? Cool.
Yeah, looks like they trained with the British Army rather than the American.
We'll go for one more round then. So, Zach.
Yep.
So, you hadn't moved yet.
Nope, so I'll start heading to around the corner.
So you're going to move and dash?
Yeah,
Yes.
so you need to dash to get all the way around.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, you won't have enough to attack when you get around the corner. But you'll get around and you'll see what's going on.
Okay.
Carson.
Can I get a bonus action to flip them off?
Yes.
It is a bonus action. To
So you just come around the corner, you know, it's like...
I got you in my sights.
Alright, fisticuffs it is, you know, with the bugger that's in front of me.
Roll to fist.
17!
Yes. Yes, that hits.
4 points of damage.
Sub-Zero.
Okay.
Yeah, so, 4 points of damage, and then bonus action to hit him again.
Go for it.
To
Box
punch him in the
him.
dick.
I take it you are adding your strength to that.
Yay!
first round.
I am.
Yeah, okay.
Crit.
Crit.
Okay.
It's
So,
the witness everyone.
Witness.
So when you crit, the dice that you roll, any dice you roll is doubled, and then you add your stat modifiers as normal.
Okay, so it's just one set of stat modifiers, but 2 sets of dice.
Yes.
Cool.
Wait, Merlan critted.
Yeah.
Something's wrong here.
2,
I've not been stealing enough.
7, 9 on the second hit.
So
Infinite skull.
so you punch it in the face to begin with, which sort of knocks it off balance a little bit, and then you hit it almost an uppercut, not quite a full uppercut, but just straight up into the jaw, and you just hear this sickening crack as its head just snaps backwards and it just falls back, its head rolling around in a really not very nice manner.
So a mini Shoryuken.
Yeah, pretty much.
Less flash, more precision.
So that's your action, your bonus. You still have a move. You want to do anything with that?
Do I want to move up to the next one? Actually, what the other one? What's it holding?
It's currently holding a scimitar because it's just stabbed her up a little bit.
In that case, within 30 foot away.
Yeah, it's only sort of 10 foot away from where you are.
Fine, I'm gonna need to move up and stand behind it, so I can't do much else right now.
So you're going to set up flanking.
On the plus side, mean you are flanking it currently.
Yeah, that's currently my theory at the moment. It's like, yeah, I'm ready for you. I'm ready for you, little shite.
Okay. That brings us to Hoff.
Right, let's shoot one.
Yep. So there's one currently
Don't
one left.
shoot me. Just-
Yay, 19.
19 will hit. Roll damage.
That's 5.
5 points of damage. So the crossbow bolt thunks into the side of his torso. He's still alive, holding where the crossbow's bolt hit him and stuck in.
And then rather than drawing my crossbow, I'm going to be reaching for one of my axes.
Okie doke.
You're going to ask him a question.
We need to shave it for later.
Cassandra, you're next.
Oh, I'm gonna move up.
And then, like,
They're the one.
I'm going to spank him! Spank him!
Okay, based on the fact that she is next to it, he is next to it, and you're next to it, you will have flanking on this.
Definitely have flanking.
It's definitely
Flanking.
Circle kicking.
Did you basically do what I did earlier? Get like 2 shitty rolls?
19.
19 and a 6.
Oh, okay.
So it's not quite a crit.
25 to hit.
25 will hit.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be smite.
My dice are just taunting me right now because it's been very close.
Even
twice
if she was using it the wrong way round, like holding the bladed end, it's going to be smegged.
Actually, weird sort of
12.
in my moment is luck being
How do you finish it
8
off?
to 9. I don't know why.
Straight down the middle. Fuck
Straight
it.
down the middle. So
Straight down the middle.
as this bolt hits it in the side, after you've come around menacingly and looked at
It's like, yeah.
she runs up, and as it sort of turns to look at you, she catches it right down the back and just splits it in the middle, and all you see is this.
Ooh, bifurcated.
And with that, I'm gonna flourish to get rid of the goo.
Wait,
Yep.
does it go on Carson or me? But the way
No.
she.
Because the way I walked up, you were either side like that. I'm doing that,
Okay,
so a proper flourish down,
that's fine then.
so it will
Okay.
go straight down the middle.
So the blood's sort of pooling in the middle a little bit there. At which point you're sort of all stood around a couple of split goblins.
We should probably move fast.
Currently not.
Track them. You know, they'll probably be retreating back to their lair.
It didn't look like they'd be retreating.
We don't know how many there were.
Roll me an insight.
Okay. 3.
You haven't got a fucking clue. You have the feeling they like the place.
I'm going to double back on myself, start walking along, and I'd like to keep a lookout to see if I noticed any other suspicious activity.
Okay.
I was going to say I'm going to have a look at the rooftops to see if I can see any smoke or anything. Like any more fires have been set.
You currently are not really sure. You're still a little bit sort of confused as to why the goblins want to be here. If you could roll me a investigation.
5.
We're doing so well.
The spaggiest.
Can
You're
I?
finding quite a lot of buildings around this place. Yeah, so
We're doing a good job.
Okay, I'm not sure whether we track them first, try and get some insight into what exactly they were looking for or doing.
roll me an insight first
Okay.
with advantage because the fact that it's
favourite enemy.
goblins. Yeah.
Oh, look at you.
That's my jam.
I thought it was only on survival and intelligence rolls.
This is a bit different. It's sort of because of what he's good at. So.
Yeah. So it'll be 16.
16, and then can you also roll me an investigation?
Investigation. Oh, good. That's intelligence.
And that again, that is with the goblins in mind. So
Yeah. That's good. That's 11.
okay, so based on that, so you're not really sure why the goblins are attacking. As standard, goblins don't group up in any kind of force and attack towns because they're not that clever and they're not that organised.
Something's organising them.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. The other thing is, based on the amount of guards you saw before at the 2 gates, you'd swear that's a distraction tactic. So having goblins sneaking in and setting fire to things is far too clever for them. The other thing is, like was mentioned before, they're not the type to fight to the death normally. Normally 1 or 2 will die and the rest of them will scatter. These ones don't seem to be even remotely fleeing. Like, despite the fact that they could see their friends were dying, they weren't fleeing.
Fools.
Something is different about these goblins.
How sort?
Their behaviour is unusual. I think either something is forcing them here, so they're attacking a lot harder out of maybe fear or desperation, or something else is emboldening them and coercing them into attacking here. Definitely need to investigate further.
So you think that around?
Yes, I mean they're likely to have their lair not far from here.
So, okay. What's their lair like? They were somebody in the cave. I don't know. They make huts.
It could be a cave. Sometimes you get roving bands, moving from one temporary lair to another. They don't stay at a place indefinitely. They'll move around as and when they can rob things.
So while you're wandering around, sort of investigating a little bit less successfully than you imagine it could have been, you see a couple of the guards, sort of the odd one here or there. You see one just sort of pulling a spear out of a goblin, just wiping the blood off the end a little bit. They sort of give you funny looks, but a lot of them, it's less like there's something wrong with you, and more just curious, like they've never seen you, they've never seen someone, that has like blue hands sort of thing. It's more of a that's weird, but all right, whatever. It's not attacking me. Right now I've got bigger issues. But so you're not really finding any more goblins or anything at the moment. Every now and then you hear a loud sort of bang echo around, but less frequently than when you were actually fighting. That's for everyone, for hearing the bangs.
Cool.
Can I use a survival check to try and follow goblin-sized tracks to possibly where they came from?
Well, that was what I was going to do. So can I assist?
Yes. So essentially, whichever of you wants to roll it, and then the other. So the one assisting basically gives the main person.
Your survival's better, so you roll, and I'll give you advantage.
So you get advantage for that because he doesn't actually need to roll anything. He just gives you advantage because he's assisting you.
Oh, here we go.
Teamwork.
This is when I roll shit.
Yeah, teamwork's awesome.
Oh, for God's sake! 11.
Okay, so you both sort of are looking around, following some of the tracks.
Let's look for treasure.
A few of the tracks look like they've been trampled underfoot by other people. People have walked across them and kind of muddied the waters, so to speak, a little bit. You find a gold piece that someone looks like they've dropped.
Pocket that.
Fairly lucky find.
Look it up.
The tracks that you do find, they sort of lead back to one of the gates. Unfortunately, at that point, they're really just muddied in with what looks like the guards fighting, maybe a few other goblin tracks that have been fighting. It's at that point you kind of lose it a little bit.
So at this point, our best guess is that they just came in through one of the gates. Yeah.
That's what it looks like. You're not necessarily exactly sure how they've managed to get through without being killed at the gate, but goblins are slippery little shits. At the best of times. So
looks like the trail ends here.
That's not ideal.
We'll have to spread out in the surrounding area and try and find them that way. They'll have gone into hiding outside the village.
Were you with them while they were?
Yeah.
So what did you do?
Like I said, I'm gonna have a look to see if I can see any more points where there are fires.
Cool. Yeah. So you can't immediately see any more. Sort of wandering a little bit through the town, you see a couple of places that look like they might have been trying to start, but again, it looks like the sort of torches have been put on the ground and stamped on before any real damage could be done. You think probably at best guess, if you guys hadn't caught these ones, these are the ones that would have done the damage. Right. Every now and then you sort of see a building that's got a little bit of black up the side, which looks like it's been there more than a couple of days.
So it's not set today, that was set previously.
Yeah, it looks like that would have been in a previous attack, but more than that you couldn't necessarily say at the moment. Has anyone else got anything in particular they want to do?
I'm going to return to the tavern.
Return to the tavern, okay. As you come back to the tavern, and you're the first person sort of coming back round, you see the guard captain outside the tavern with his foot on a goblin, holding what you think, especially by some of the drawings you've seen of them, holding his firearm sort of to its head. And as you sort of step up and sort of really focus, he pulls the trigger, and the back of its head just splatters against the ground. At which point he, again, you all hear a bang.
I'm a scared face.
Which point he starts doing something which you think might be him putting another round in. Maybe you're not too sure with the way the guns work. You know they fire little metal balls, but you're not too sure. But then he sort of looks up. He sort of looks up at you and nods, and then steps into the tavern.
I follow.
Okay.
Ooh. Get some time alone with Mr. Guard Captain.
Obviously, Merlin, I'm dick hunting.
Yeah.
Come down, DM.
Cock hungry.
Cock gobbler, thanks.
Cock goblin.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Cock fiend.
In a couple of moments it takes you to sort of get up to where the door is. You step inside and the guard captain's already sort of managed to get to the bar. The barman's just sort of don't worry, Captain, on the house. And he passes him one of the bottles, a little bit of dust on the side of the bottle. Looks like one of the sort of standard ale bottles, best guess.
Okay.
Hot pocket packed.
I will steal myself and then walk over to the captain.
Okay.
Is it like a bar stool?
He's still stood up at the bar.
Oh.
He hasn't actually sat down.
Okay, I'm going to stay standing. I probably fall.
Yeah. He sort of takes a swig from the bottle, wipes some of the excess away. It doesn't look like he's being particularly formal. He's just stressed, having a drink at best guess. And he looks to you, nods.
Salutations. I'm assuming you are captain of the Sentinels here.
Well, captain of the guards. Wouldn't necessarily call them sentinels. Unfortunately, most of them aren't that well trained.
Okay. We have eliminated 7 of the creatures.
No, that's good. Thank you. When the others get back, I can tell you a bit more if you want. It might be easier to tell your whole group. I don't know if you turned up meeting. I mean, what are the chances of you all coming here randomly?
Quite phenomenally small, but of the circumstances of fate nonetheless, I would not associate myself with the group, but we were associated together on the task. So they are fortuitous strangers.
Yeah, I mean, fortuitous strangers makes sense, I suppose, but not a lot of the rest of it did.
I would go a lot worse.
Perhaps we should sit on a table to accompany the whole number for when they return if you have further information.
Okay, well, and he sort of steps over to one of the tables, pulls out one of the chairs. The ladies first.
Thank you. As I sit down.
So he waits until you've actually sat down, then he takes a chair as well. As he's there, he takes his hat off, puts it onto the table in front of him, puts his elbows down, starts rubbing his eyes. He looks quite tired. So he just drinks from his bottle. So you guys been investigating a little bit. So
Yes. So do you think we should look around more of the town?
I'll have a go.
okay.
And I will assist you this time.
They won't do anything, I don't think.
It's still assisting, so it'll give you advantage.
He's already got advantage.
You've already got advantage.
Super advantage.
Doesn't work.
20.
20.
Non-natural.
Okay, so despite the fact that a lot of the trails have been sort of effectively obliterated during the fighting, you can still find a few of the trails heading out from the gate that look like they were from the goblins coming in. Going too far out, you think, might be a bit dangerous, especially after sort of having a fight and no chance of sort of stop and take stock.
Get an idea of direction, maybe.
But say it looks like a lot of them have come from probably the east, a little bit deeper into the forest towards the east.
Something to go on.
A little bit out without going too far. You sort of find a few more of the tracks that look like they might have gone round to another side of the village.
Come back with more people. We've got something to go on. Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, I'll go back to the tavern. Finish my drink.
I'll get another one.
Zach, are you with them, or have you?
I've already started heading back. I heard gunfire.
Okay, so as you head sort of back towards the tavern, you find a goblin outside that's got a fairly large crater in its head, it's more or less just outside the tavern door.
Completely natural.
That's what it smells like.
I'll head into the tavern.
Okay, so as you step into the tavern, you see Macaria and the guard captain both sat at one of the tables. They look a little bit awkward sat together, but I say he's patiently sort of drinking his drink. I imagine Macaria has once again pulled out parchment and.
I'll go up to the bartender and go, a shot of whiskey, an ale, and your cheapest rum and alcohol.
My cheapest what?
Rum and alcohol. Sterilise a wound.
Medicinal alcohol.
We don't have any, mate.
Then the cheapest white spirit you got.
I can give you a little bit of. I've got a little bit of dwarven fire whiskey. It's not great.
Whatever's cheap.
So he pours one of the nice whiskies for you. Again, he sort of pulls the bottle of the dwarven fire whiskey out. Doesn't look like it's been touched in probably over a year with the amount of dust on it.
I pull the crossbow bolt out of my shoulder.
Ooh.
I just put the whiskey onto it.
Okay. Can you please roll me a medicine check?
Can I do it untrained?
Yeah, you can roll any skill with this, but obviously you don't get proficiency to anything that's not trained.
That's cool. So flat 0 then. 17.
Okay, it stings like a bastard.
I'm expecting you to.
But I say, at your best sort of guess, especially with some of the books you've read, you reckon it's probably sterile. It hurts, but you haven't injured yourself pulling the bolt out.
Can you quickly give it some water? Tinderbox. Strike the alcohol.
Okay, that
Rambo.
with the medicine roll you've had, that's still going to deal you damage.
Yep, I'm expecting that.
But it will seal it, and it will be cleanly sealed.
Yeah.
So you will take 2 points of fire damage from that.
Cool.
But say he sort of looks a bit startled with you on that one. But he sort of goes out, grabs a small sort of wooden tankard of water and sort of hands it to you.
Kind of like bandage it up as best as I really can, and then I shot the whiskey.
He just sort of looks at you. He's like,
Thank you.
on the house, mate.
I grab the ale and join these two.
It looks like this day we're going to
So-
scar the barman.
You'd looked around for some of the fires. You'd seen some of the buildings.
Yeah.
What were you doing at that point?
At that point, I need to stop because I'm fucked.
A little bit injured, like.
Little bit, yeah.
Okay, so head back to the tavern then.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you see the goblin body just outside the tavern. Walk back in. You see sort of the barman shaking his head a little bit, looking over at him. He's just sort of sitting down with Macaria and what looks like the guard captain. And they said they're currently all sat at the same table.
Cool. I'm gonna walk up to the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Can I have my bag, please?
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's really moved since you put it down.
Gonna move it, plonk it down next to one of the seats of a random table. I'm gonna start taking off my armour.
Okay.
Yeah, so once I've taken off my armour, I'm then gonna on the worst side, cure that up.
Sure.
So I'm gonna healing hands that bitch.
Okay, so you use your Azamar healing hands.
Yeah.
You put 1 hit point back into yourself.
Yeah.
So while you're doing that, as you just sort of got on the armor off and come back in, I take it you guys are heading back to the town as well.
Yeah, we're heading back.
Cool. So you guys sort of arrive back last.
What's your name anyway?
Yeah, it's like Carson. Yeah, Carson Reinhardt. What's yours?
Pleased to meet you. I'm Hoff Spitzvig.
Yeah, now Hoff.
So you haven't heard of him, but you've heard the name Reinhardt before. You've heard of the wandering traders.
Right out the trading company.
Yes, the prestigious line.
I did some casual work for them back in the day.
So well, certainly got ourselves around. Well, then, hard. I've taken a bit of a trip away. Not much of a trader myself.
Say no more. Times are hard for me as well.
Okay, so it's about that point you're sort of walking in. You see the goblin as you walk into the tavern. So she's just sort of taking her arm off and just sort of gently doing something you're not quite sure, maybe patching herself up. At this point, there'll be enough time to use a short rest to heal a little bit.
Can I? How many of my bolts can I retrieve?
Oh, actually, I should do the same thing.
I fired 3, so I shot 3.
You are able to retrieve 2.
Okay.
Because one of them you have no idea where it went.
Yeah.
How many did you fire?
4.
4. You're able to retrieve 3 because one of them went into the fire.
Cool.
So short rest.
So what do we get for doing a short rest?
The way short rest works is when you've got enough time to sort of sit and gather your bearings after a fight, just take a few minutes to breathe. You are able to take up to however many hit dice you have, and whatever your hit dice is, and you can roll that to heal on a short rest. So they are functionally an expendable resource.
Trying to remember what my hit dice is.
Back to full.
Back to full.
Is it based on your
Fighter, it's a
race?
D10.
Yeah, D10 for the fighty classes.
Back to full.
Nice. But yeah, so you can use as many hit dice as you have once per. Well, you get. I think you gain half your hit dice back on a long rest. So whenever you get a chance to long rest, as well as getting hit points back, you'll also get your hit dice back at the moment.
Cool.
But say,
I should be healed fully by tomorrow.
but say it's one of those things where on a short rest, it's one of those things you'd use hit dice on a short rest just in case you don't know when you're going to long rest yet.
Yeah.
But at the moment, because you're level 1, you get all your hit dice back every time you long rest anyway. So as you two come in, obviously Lucario sat down. Zach,
the blue skin
sat
lady.
down. I can't remember which names you do and don't know, but it's easier for me. But yeah, Zach sat down. Cassandra's just sort of patching herself up by the looks of things.
I'll get a round of drinks in.
Okay, so
My fellow goblin hunters.
yeah, so the barman brings up 5 bottles of ale. Says, "Don't worry about it. You guys helped. Consider this one on the house."
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So, I have no doubt the goblins will be back again.
Sure.
As they're not finished. I think we should gather ourselves and then go after them. Any thoughts, anyone?
So the guard captain sort of sits up. So that's a very astute observation, my small friend. The goblins have been around a few times. We've sent a few people looking for wherever they come from. We've sent a couple of messengers over to the capital of Obsidia. Unfortunately, no one's come back and no reinforcements have arrived. Unfortunately, we've been rather stuck and our resources have been slowly but surely diminishing.
It's like, well, me and Hoff, seem to think they're coming from the east. Well, the forest to the east. At least that's where the tracks seem to be, leading to.
So I believe one of my boys had a similar thought, but unfortunately, when he went to try and find out, he didn't get much further. Apparently, since we haven't seen him. Apologies, where are my manners? So I am Captain Graham.
Zach Hawkins.
Nods to you.
Captain, if it wouldn't be a rude question, do you mind if I check out your shirt?
I do mind.
Fair enough.
I have seen more than enough people injure themselves with one of these. Not about to trust someone I don't know.
Well, can I at least look, not touch?
If you can see it from there, fine. But it's staying firmly in its holster till I need it.
I understand.
You could take a look. Yeah. Take a look at my crossbow if it interests you. Not my making. Made by a gnomish engineer I know back in Cassus.
If you don't mind.
I'm going to walk up to the captain.
Functionally, it is the same as any other crossbow, but just the
so
ratchet
you sort of stand up
the
from your
gearing
chair,
system
move around
makes
to
it
his.
usable for someone of my
down.
Oh, you haven't actually sat down.
No,
Sorry, my apologies.
Putting my armour back on.
Unload the bolt.
But yeah, so he stands up and he meets your.
I would say I shaped mine.
Cassandra, Harmon.
Happy to meet you.
Quite interesting.
I do wish it was under better circumstances, admittedly.
And it's got a proper rifle type stock as well, not just a straight thing.
Pleasure to meet you, Cassandra.
So, based on the way this lady put it before, you don't seem to be acquainted with each other. So, apparently, you're fortuitous strangers, as she puts it.
Chance and happenstance.
Yeah.
Oh, so none of you are local?
Nope.
No.
Do I sound local?
Do I look local?
Trust me, I don't know what looks local.
Well, I travel around lots of. I travel around. No, you are. You are new to me.
Cassandra.
Hoff specific.
Nice
At
to
your
meet you.
service.
Very light shake.
I
It looks like I'm really
Yeah.
trying not to squeeze your hand too much.
I'm 2.5 feet tall.
Yes, so I'm
Yes.
proper.
Can I say I meet many girls like you around?
Thanks.
Oh, you're a strong one, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, so, Carson.
Proper
Yeah.
slap.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you are strong.
What's your strength?
15.
18.
Ooh!
Yeah, so, no, you are
So
strong.
that is going to piss me a little bit.
I say I will apologise in advance for Hoff, and so I don't believe I caught your name.
I'm just writing
It is.
deliberately, like not looking up. Sorry.
I say so he sort of looks expectantly. as you
She's
come around and say,
Frère. She's Fraulein Fell.
No,
so I don't believe I caught your name.
Oh no, I didn't give it. You can call me Mel.
Pleasure, Mel.
Well,
Nice to
agreed.
meet you.
Pleasure. I just wanted to say I apologise if any of the men gave you any funny looks. They haven't seen many, non-humans around. Don't get a lot of through traffic.
The garden that we get was very distracted by me.
Yeah, when he says non-human, I twitch slightly.
So,
Even though you look human enough, don't you? Yeah.
it's not often anyone has seen a gnome around these parts, let alone a gnome with a dog cart.
A horse would be rather impractical for me, don't you think?
I can see that, admittedly. So
Plus, Daffy looks a lot easier to park.
Oh, that's that dog that I was outside.
Yes, she's my travelling companion and primary mode of transportation.
So as I hear it from Mel, you managed to take out 7 of them, and by the looks of things, it looks like you may have managed to stop another fire.
That would be the ladies' works.
2. As I get out an old rag and start cleaning my sword methodically.
So they've been trying, and we just can't work out why. Again, no one's come back from trying to investigate them or get messengers out. He pulls out a sort of small pouch and throws it into the middle of the table. This is what we found on the on the attackers this time, it's not much. Again, a lot of what we had has gone into, well, weapons. We've had to melt down some of the other metal pots and pans just to help make a few extra arrows.
You do that to pots and pans.
I've tracked down these pests before. Not alone, of course, with a group, but between these fine fellows, I'm sure that we can help you. And
You're emptying it all out on the table.
Is it just me, or do they seem
It
a lot
looks
more
to be
organized
about
than usual?
20 gold.
They do. I have my
Actually
suspicions.
stopping and counting it quickly, it is 20 gold.
But since you're hard up on your luck, I tell you what. When we get the goblins, we'll take our share of any loot we find there, and then you can take everything else.
Well, based on the situation at the moment, I had hoped, since you look fairly capable and are obviously not from around here, I don't imagine you would have been planning to stay long term.
Nope.
I'm looking for work, so this is perfect for me.
Do have a job for you, which would,
Gain 4 gold.
Yes.
the job would be to be our messengers, regardless of whether we deal with the goblins or not. Our numbers have been thinning and thinning. They've killed a lot of the villagers.
So you want us to head to the capital to send reinforcements?
I would, yes. Unfortunately, because of the dwindling numbers, every attack, less and less people. We were lucky not to lose anyone this time. I think thanks in part to your appearance, but it's also the first time they've attacked in the day, which makes me
they're getting
think.
bolder.
Yes, I noticed
Maybe.
I noticed the goblins. They are quite bold.
They're not as cowardly as we'd have expected normally.
You reckon someone's pulling the strings of the puppets?
Either that or something has got them scared or desperate.
So he pulls out a piece of parchment and a battered but nice looking quill. And as he starts writing, and as he's sort of writing, he says, I will pen a letter for Obsidia. Excuse me. I will pen a letter for Obsidia, asking for reinforcements. Should you be able to deliver this, I will ensure that they adequately reimburse you. We are generally supposed to be looked after by Obsidia. Unfortunately, unless we do specifically request the reinforcements, they don't often send them because they don't have the spares to just send them all over the place. But provided you are able to get this message there, I imagine you will be rewarded.
We'll do our best. Well, I'm on
It was the direction I was heading in anyway.
I think it's very fortuitous direction for all us.
I know some. I got some contacts in Obsidia.
So once he looks like he's finished writing, he pulls out a small seal, puts it at the bottom of the letter. When you actually look over,
Yeah, I'm probably looking at the seal. I'm like,
it doesn't look like anything big. It just looks like a fairly basic sort of official seal, similar to a lot of guild seals that most of you probably would have seen. But when you actually see his handwriting, considering how battered he looks, how tired he is, the handwriting's really quite nice. I mean, it's calligraphy levels.
calm down.
Yeah, it is calligraphy levels of writing, which you wouldn't have expected from someone, in a place like this. But he rolls it up. It says,
Not originally from here.
I'm gonna tuck it into my folds.
few of us are.
My room.
We a lot of our families settled here. Unfortunately.
Similar town.
Unfortunately, you can see how that's gone. I've been lucky. My family so far are okay, but not every family has been. Based on the idea that they've attacked in the day, they usually attack once, twice, maybe 3 times a night. We may expect another attack in the day. I don't know. They may attack in the evening. Again, I couldn't necessarily be sure. But at best guess, we should be okay for another night before you guys decide to leave if you wanted to rest up for the evening.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, definitely need to rest up.
So I definitely don't imagine that would hurt. So give you time to prepare before you leave. Hopefully you'll have more luck than some of the others.
Yes, ma'am.
The innkeep said that he had made preparations of bedchambers for us to use for the evening.
Awesome.
I'll be around.
I'm going to be. Yeah. Right, when we're sort of sitting down thinking about things, I'm going to be pulling out. I'm going to sort of be packing a pipe bowl, and I've got a strange mechanical contraption in my pocket. Part of my racial gear. I've got a mechanical fire lighting device, which will take the form of an old-fashioned rope lighter.
Nice.
Very fancy.
Seeing that, I'll roll up a cigarette and throw it in.
Yes, but still, a good hot meal. A good hot meal. I think would be a good idea. It's like so it's like barkeep. You got a kitchen in there?
I light up a bowl and sit back.
We do, yeah. Hasn't been used much. Couple of nights a week, I guess.
You got much food in at the moment? Any ingredients?
Got a few bits and pieces.
One of three things.
Few things.
Do you mind if I attempt to whip us up something nice and hot?
I don't see why not.
Sorry. I'm going to roll up everything I am, and then I'm going to follow him in.
Okay. So as you're rolling and as he's starting to head towards the kitchen, the tavern door flies open, and one of the guards comes in and says, "Sir, we've got a couple more goblins, holdouts. They've taken out 2 men already."
Food's gonna have to wait.
Ah, damn. Hoping for a good hot meal.
Right, yeah. Get the crossbow.
So the captain stands up and strides out with them. So you guys follow?
Yep.
Yup.
Yeah.
So,
grab bag on the way out. So didn't really specify put it down, but I would have done.
So as you guys step out, sort of the guard is sort of pointing over to one of the houses. So it looks like a couple of them got into that house. We don't know why they haven't burnt it down, but they're in there. And two of the guards already have gone in, and all we heard was screaming.
Right, if we're going to get close then. Right, axes.
I'll put away my crossbow and pull out my sword.
Okay, so as you all head over,
Yep.
and pulling out various weapons and such, the captain starts to pull his gun. One of the other guards says, "Captain, a few more this way." He goes, "Can I leave you to deal with the ones here?"
Yep.
Go.
He walks off towards where the other guard is calling him from. At which point there is a house. The door is open.
May
So
I
it's a single-story bungalow by the looks of it. It doesn't look colossal.
Were you in initiative order for this?
We're currently no.
So I'm gonna pop my back straight against. So the door frame is here, and I'm gonna turn and go in. I'm gonna make sure that no one else goes in first.
Oh, well, I was
Okay.
going to suggest one of you two went in first, seeing as you are the bigger ones.
So-
It makes sense.
So at this point, everyone can roll me initiative.
20!
Damn it.
Yeah.
So that's 22.
It's fine. I'm a bit slow off the mark. I'm like, I need feeding.
I think
I'm the first
you're
one in.
actually going to be meaningful.
2.
Oh.
Okay, 1 second.
Well, I got 5. So.
Okay, so
You do
above a
it.
15, other than
I rolled a
19.
19.
19.
19.
19.
Okay, so that was the only one above 15. So above a 10.
Oh
Crikey,
no!
above a 5.
I got 5.
Okay.
6.
Prepared for this fight now.
It's fine. We're getting tired.
2. Shit.
What? I don't have any decks. It's a terrible roll.
Okay, let's just check some perceptions. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so you push your way in, and sort of your eyes take a moment to adjust as you go from bright to a bit darker inside.
Yeah.
And you see what looks like 3 goblins stood over 2 bodies.
Right.
You're not quite sure what they're doing, maybe looting through their pockets. As you sort of step in, you see them, they see you. and at which point you've sort of stepped in the door enough that there's enough of a gap for people to walk past. Hoff.
Right, go in, axe to one of them.
Okay. So, for reference, one of them looks like this. If you want to hold that up to the
Oh no, is it spellcaster?
camera for people.
It's the goblin boss.
Oh
Oh.
There you go.
He's so pretty.
He's gonna look so pretty when he's split in half.
Yeah, and then there's two of the regular looking ones as well. So, if you roll your axe.
Ugh. 9.
No. So you wing the axe and it flies past and it beds in the wall on the other side.
Okay.
Okay, that's Hoff. So, Macaria.
I step into the room in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see the people. I have Cassandra on my left, and I'm guessing Hoff is
He's sort of just a little bit in front of where you are,
in the. Okay, just steps in the other way.
although you can very clearly see above him.
What are the goblins doing?
It looked like they may have been rifling through pockets.
Okay, have they got weapons drawn and everything?
Yes, because it looks like they very recently may have made those bodies dead. Blood still dripping down like one of the scimitars.
Okay, I'm going to make an intimidation check as I cast the spell, or I'm going to try and pronounce it, Thaumaturgy.
Thaumaturgy.
So I have the one.
That's a
So I have the one where I can either make my voice boom 3 times louder, and I can do like thunderclap and ominous whispers as I talk.
Okay. Which one are you doing?
I'm going to do my voice booming 3 times as louder. So I'm doing it as I do my intimidation check.
Okay. You will get advantage on the intimidation check.
I was not expecting to get any advantages during any of this game. Let me get another d20.
And that was your first mistake.
Well, I didn't really think I'm kind of crap at talking and doing other things, so it'll be fine.
Can you do a careless whisper? So they can't dance. So they can't dance again.
Maybe next time I will.
Okay. And once you've rolled it,
I rolled a
Witness! Witness! Because get guilty feet.
Okay.
okay, give me just 2 seconds.
That's okay.
Take another one of your concave prawn discs.
Not skips.
They
No!
are not those brand name products you just mentioned.
They are prawn flavoured concave discs. Rice based discs.
Rice based discs. Oh.
They melt in your mouth.
Not in
More or
your
less.
hand. Like those hard shell chocolate treats.
Okay. So she walks in, and what do you shout?
Lay down your arms, fiend, and you may live.
Okay. So the 2 smaller ones, they look quite frightened, and they don't drop their weapons, but they sort of back away a little bit. The bigger one doesn't look as frightened, but you can sort of see some.
He's shaking a bit.
Yeah, they are currently under the frightened condition.
Yay! So let me just check. So that
Fuck 'em up!
is disadvantage to check and attacks while Source of Fear is in line of sight, but cannot move closer to Source of Fear. Ooh. There you go. I can totally help.
Just heard some scary words.
So, even without sort of needing insights and things, you can tell they don't look like they're going to stop fighting, but they don't look particularly happy.
They look more careful about fighting.
Let's ball up the house.
Careful is.
Let's nail the door shut and burn the house down.
So, the bigger goblin sort of takes a step back, and with his offhand pulls a javelin from off his back and flings it towards you at disadvantage.
No.
What a dick.
Yep, does a 5 hit you? Okay, so you sort of move slightly, and the javelin sticks into the wall behind you. And he's just sort of there going. And yeah, he can't move any closer. So that's fine. Okay. At which point it is Zach's turn.
Cool. I step into the door and realise, oh wow, it's really crowded in here, and I should have kept my crossbow out.
Okay, so the room you sort of stepped in, it's about 40 by 30 feet.
Okay.
So there's a bit of space in there.
What's the TRP rating?
Probably not great based on goblin attacks.
Okay, so how much of my movement will I use getting around everyone else so I can see the goblins?
Probably 25 feet.
And that wouldn't give me enough room to be able to step up and attack, would it?
Not with a melee weapon, no. You'd still be able to use a ranged attack.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll shoot at the one that's not pissing itself in fear as much as the other two.
Okay, so you
The big
shoot at the bigger
The big
one.
one.
Yeah.
Yep. He stands about half a foot taller than the others. Not massive, but still.
15? No. Okay.
Fortunately not. So as it sort of wings across the side, it looks like it would have caught him, but it pings off the chain shirt that you see underneath the clothing.
Tag nabbit.
Ooh, shiny.
At which point, Carson.
Are you shooting in range, by the way?
Oh, here we
Yes,
go.
I threw an axe.
Okay. So on
Range is
on my
going
way
away.
in, I'm going to draw my
I've got a
axe.
I've got a nasty book.
Oh.
My hand axe. Sorry.
Are you going to ask them a question?
Well, sort of. Depends on how well this goes. So the big one, is he like right next to the small ones?
Yeah, currently.
A knife.
They were all gathered round two bodies. They haven't moved.
Yeah, so they haven't moved. Yeah, it's like okay. Yeah, so I'm going to wang my axe at the big one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wang.
Axe wanging party.
Oh, roll to wang.
Oh, excuse me.
Does an 18 hit?
Yeah, wang.
It
Just
will
throw.
hit.
Yes.
Roll to damage with your wanging.
Yeah. Keep it.
7 damage.
Just throw it. Just throw it.
Obviously, it's slashing.
Roll
So that
off, yeah.
helps.
No, that's fine. So 7
He wangs the cricket
slashing
ball at him.
Axe is in him.
Better than the correct Gen Z.
So you wing the axe at him,
I'm not saying
and
that.
it catches him in the side of the chest and embeds itself a little bit. He sort of he growls at you. Still sort of with a bit of a sideways glance towards Macaria, but sort of growls at you.
Do I have enough movement to move up to any one of them?
Not into melee range on the first go.
Yeah, so in that case, I'm just going to advance closer. I'm going to go. Yeah, so I'm going to aim for the big one, but because I know that I've heard the shots being fired and stuff, I'm going to try and go a little bit to the to the right, a bit more out the way, so I don't get hit in the back of the head.
Yeah, so you get about sort of 5 feet further towards them, but it's still probably about 20 feet from you at the moment.
Yeah.
Because it's right across the other end of the room at the moment. So with that it is Cassandra.
We'll have a look at stuff in a minute.
Hooray! One ranged
Yeah, so
attack hit.
I can't move up to within.
You can,
Cool.
because you'd stepped in and then we went into initiative, at which point
This
everyone else had to move in, whereas you're
Right.
already in.
Some range
Okay,
weapons.
so I'm going to move up and twat one,
For obvious reasons.
3.
Okay, are you going to go for the bigger one, or are you going to go
I'm
for
gonna-
one of the small ones?
I'm going to go for one, probably one of the smaller ones because. The way I'm looking at it, the big one's in the middle and the smaller ones are either side.
Mhm.
I'm going to go for the one on the left because I'm coming from the left.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm going to go for that one first.
Okay.
Fuck it up.
That's the plan. No, an 11 won't hit, will it?
No,
I'm gonna
unfortunately.
knock you out. I'm gonna knock you out.
Okay, so that goblin, still sort of giving awkward glances to her, is going to attack you. It is still at disadvantage because it's still within line of sight of its fear. And that's going to be a 9 to hit you.
No.
Okay, so that one sort of again still like glancing, and because it's glancing, it misjudges the swing distance and just whiffs across the front, just sort of cutting across your armour but not actually hitting you. The other one, because it can't move closer to her, is going to sort of move round the back of the other ones, so not moving closer but across, so that it's in melee range with you but hasn't moved closer to her. Does an 8 hit you?
No.
Based on the fact that the 9 didn't. So that one again, also that one's almost staring at her as it's swinging at you, just trying to make sure it doesn't go any closer. It's like, and its hand just shaking, swings, it just goes nowhere near you.
Cool.
At which point we come back round to Hoff.
Right.
Looky in the bookie, and then
Right, my other axe.
Oh, no.
Right, throw other axe.
Okay.
And can I? And there's a free action. Can I draw my boot knife?
Yeah. You can draw a knife up. That's not a problem.
Oh, for 8.
Okay. Yeah. No, unfortunately, that axe, weirdly enough, embeds probably about a foot away from the other one.
Correct.
They're both just sort of at the same angle. Not quite sure how.
So as you walk over, you could just.
Yeah, well, I've got my dagger in my hand now, so.
Okay. Are you moving closer or
No, I'm staying where I am.
staying where you are? Okay.
I'm not mixing it up. That's not what I do.
Okay. Macaria.
Which one of them is first in the initiative, by the way?
Of those two,
Yeah.
he is.
Okay, I move to stand near the gun guy. I don't know your name and character.
don't get offline.
And I use my action to help, which means that his next check or attack, he gains advantage.
Okay.
Ooh.
Great, now I need this. I could use
Now I need to do something useful.
Hooray! I'm useful.
Just encouraging.
20.
You can do it!
I believe in you.
Yeah, no matter what you do, it's just like, yeah, good man.
Oh, there's a few over your next turn. I don't know if you're next in the initiative.
Okay, so you go over and you help.
Yeah, that's my turn.
Him. So the goblin boss is next. So he is going to take a sideways stab towards you because you're currently the only one in melee range because he didn't quite get there.
Yeah.
And he can't move closer because fear works like that. 12?
No.
And then he can make a second attack, which would have disadvantage, but it's already at disadvantage.
Disadvantage.
Double disadvantage.
It's not bad.
You
That
roll 3 dice
is 17 to hit you this
Yeah.
3 dice and pick the worst.
Did you say it was dicey?
That's 4
No.
slashing
sorry.
damage
Not.
to you.
You imagined that.
Okay.
So
You do that
he
not
tries
touch-
to jab
touch,
sideways, which sort of falls short, and then he twists and slashes across, which catches you across your right hand side.
Go.
Kit.
And at that point, he takes a 5-foot step backwards, so he's still next to his 2 goblin mates, just a little bit further away. Because that step's out of your range, you get to make an attack opportunity.
Woo!
You can use your reaction to do that.
Go.
You're so ghetto.
I thought his hand would go to sleep. He was going to wake it up.
No, I'm being.
Yeah, so
Same
almost,
again.
yeah,
Oh.
almost as like an offhand sort of
You know,
try and just
thought you were
swipe
trying
and
to
you just
bring
misses.
life back to your hand after doing a stranger.
So
I
Zach,
rolled 3 really good, and now I'm on instead.
Roll your advantage. Get it.
Oh.
But you rolled both 10s.
Is 110 better than the other?
against which one?
The boss.
Not quite.
Damn.
So the bolt just embeds into the floor just next to his feet, where he would have been but seconds before.
Damn you, mediocrity!
I tried, man. I
I
tried.
know. I appreciate it.
Are you moving at all, or is that going to be it?
Reloading.
Okay, that's fine. Carson.
Cool.
Garçon.
So the big one's in melee combat with her.
It's not anymore. It's stepped 5 foot
Step
back.
back.
So it's not quite in melee combat with her, but it's still next to the other 2.
Is that okay? So did any of the other 2 go into combat with melee with her?
Yeah,
Both of
they're
them.
currently both in melee range with her.
Wow, bit of a grouping.
How I wish I had fireball.
I was literally just thinking that.
Fuck it.
Merlan.
I've got my darts.
Your lawn darts. Your lawn darts aren't
Yeah.
doing anything.
I'm gonna draw a dart.
Okay.
This is not the time for your illegal lawn game.
I'm gonna throw the dart at the big one.
Okay.
See if this one hits.
Roll to
Darts
chuck.
actually, I don't think darts would work inside because you don't normally have to throw them up.
Ah, well, it wasn't
Into
really
the-
special.
Into
Yeah.
the ceiling it
Into the
goes.
ceiling it goes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, fuck it.
Yeah. No, you hit nothing but roof.
So then I'm gonna move up to the big one
Okay.
and use my bonus action to punch it in the back of the head, hopefully. Depending on which way he's
It's
facing.
still sort of facing your directions.
Okay, the
So
side of
it's-
the face.
Yep. Go. roll to attempt to punch it.
11.
If a 16 didn't and 11
Dunk!
won't,
You attempt a straight punch as you come in, and it just goes straight past his head. You sort of duck slightly.
Were you pressing its face?
Yes,
Weirdo.
so there's its face right there.
Sandra.
I'm gonna try and hit one of these fuckers out the side of me. Either one, I don't care which. It's one of long of them. That's fucking hurt. 12.
You're not rolling well today.
Unfortunately, you almost swing trying to hit normal chest height, and it's just above the goblin's head, and just damn training forms.
Some luck vampire is going on today.
Yeah.
I didn't do any better.
Yeah, luck vampire.
So one of them goblins. 4 doesn't hit you.
No.
Oh no, it's spreading.
Hey, Merlan.
Nor does a 5.
No.
Damn disadvantage.
Haha! Yay!
And they're not going to step back because they sort of look at her and look sideways towards the goblin, the bigger goblin, and seem to think better of stepping away from you.
Okay, so if we kill that fucker first, maybe these two, that'll go off.
Maybe.
Right. Oh well. It's getting too close for a crossbow. Let's go in and try and get a stab at the big one.
Okay. So
It's when you get a crit and kill it in one.
So roll to smack the big one.
Not smack. Stick.
Stick
Stab.
him. Stick him.
Ah. Yeah.
Stick him really
9.
good.
No.
So you do actually
Yeah.
score what you think is quite a good hit, but the dagger doesn't actually pass through the chain armor. Sort of gets caught on it a little bit. Okay.
I move so I'm within range of Punchy Dude and help him. Do it gains advantage on his next go.
Okay.
500,000
But I've
punch
also
man.
moved closer to the goblins.
Yep. So you moving closer doesn't necessarily stop
No, I know.
them as
Okay.
they are. So at this point, the big goblin, is going to. So he's going to step back behind the other goblins, which provokes an attack opportunity from you.
Hey, maybe this will hit.
Do we get advantage on that?
It's on next attack, isn't it?
Yeah, so you
Yeah,
get roll
so yeah,
roll
it's
again.
next
and you
attack.
get
So
Oh,
advantage.
thank God, because that was shit.
Roll better, roll better, roll better.
Oh,
Not better enough.
12 isn't going to do it, is it?
No.
No.
You
So-
wasted that.
So after the first straight punch, you try another straight punch with the other arm, and just misjudge the
Just-
fact that he's stepping away from you.
Yeah, he's a more agile than I thought.
So at which point he goes around the side of the goblins, because at this point it's not moving closer to you, and then steps around the side of her. At which point he tries to make an attack on her.
Yeah, great.
9.
No.
And with his second attack, which would be a disadvantage, 14.
Bang on the nose.
And he hits you for 4 slashing damage. So take a sideways glance at you just to make sure you're not, too close to him.
Do you give him the stink eye?
That.
Okay. Have I still got a clean shot at the boss?
You still got a shot, yeah?
Fuck
Cool,
him up.
cool. Nope. It just flings away.
Okay, yeah. So
What's going on?
that bolt embeds itself into the floor.
No, this one's in the fucking rafters, mate.
Okay, moving at all, just reloading.
Reloading. Always have one in the chamber.
Fair. Carson.
Right, I'm going to try and change things up a bit.
Right,
Is
repeat
he
crossbow.
still within range of me, the big one?
No, that's why you got an attack opportunity. He actually stepped out of your range.
Hit
Right.
me.
Okay, I'm going to take a step in range,
Okay.
and I'm going to use my athletics to try and trip the bastard.
Okay. So the way he stepped around the other goblins, which was keeping away from her, you have to step into one of their ranges and then back out to get to where the big one is, which means you will provoke an attack of opportunity if you go for the boss.
Probably worth it at this point because we just drop him. Fuck it, I'll do it.
Okay. So it's still at a disadvantage. Does 14 hit you?
Yes, on the nose.
Okay. Hits you for 3 points of damage. Slashing, specifically.
No, that's cool.
Well, not at all, but
It's like, ow! Right, let's see if this works.
So you are going to attempt an athletics against him. So that is opposed by his own.
Come on!
That
Please
is,
roll well.
I believe an ability check.
Yes.
So that is at disadvantage.
Are we now flanking the boss?
Are we?
You will be now, yeah.
Circle,
Yeah.
circle kick.
So does that mean I
Well,
get
those three
advantage to
circles
trip
hit me.
him or just
Yes,
flat
you
roll? Ooh. Please work.
Well, disadvantage nullifies
Better.
that actual 20 entirely.
Oh, thank God
so
for that.
his athletics is 6.
That's just as well I got 16.
Cool. So you have now knocked him prone.
Ooh.
Prone, a creature's only movement option is to crawl unless it stands up and thereby ends the condition. The creature has disadvantage on attack rolls, already has. An attack roll against the creature has advantage if the attacker is within 5 feet, otherwise the attack roll has disadvantage.
Okay. Can I, because you've mentioned about it being like a full round action, can I still use my bonus action?
You can, because an athletics is a standard action, and you can use your bonus as your bonus attack.
Okay. I use curb stomp. That's my bonus action.
Cool. So it's still an unarmed strike, so roll with advantage. Because he's both prone and flanked.
15.
so you raise your boot.
Yeah, I raise my boot and I'm just
I'm
his armour's a bit too
not
tough.
Despite you really stamping at him, he still rolls his head just out of the way as your boot comes down towards it.
Slippery bastard. But he's prone.
Yep. And
Cool.
That's your turn.
That's my turn.
Cool. I'm going to try and stab that fucker, seeing as he's already down.
Cool. You are at advantage for 2 reasons.
Yeah. Better! Non-natural 20.
So, okay. So with his reaction, he uses something called redirect attack.
What?
When a creature the goblin can see targets it with an attack, the goblin chooses another goblin within 5 feet of it, and they swap places, and the chosen goblin becomes the target instead. So he literally rolls and almost trips the other one into his position, at which point you hit the smaller one instead of the boss.
Okay.
Sneaky bastard.
He's a sneaky shit.
Balls.
It's fine, I'll just make stabbing him that much more satisfying.
After
Oh,
we've
yeah.
killed the 2 little ones, he's not going to be able to do that, is he?
She's not wrong.
Okay, so that is going to be 13 points of damage.
Yeah, so as you cleave down to try and catch him on the floor, because you were actually going for him on the floor rather than the one coming in, as it sort of steps backwards, you actually catch it across the chest and just pretty much decapitate it.
Awesome.
Yay.
But the shoulders are still attached to the head, so you've almost got a living goblin bust, or dead goblin bust now.
I imagine their nervous system is primitive enough that you probably might run around for a bit.
Like a headless chicken.
Yeah, there's still some twitching going on.
Twitchy.
You moving at all, or
Yes, you're right, Cassus. There is twitching.
No,
going
because
on right
moving is going to provoke attacks up, and
you'd be able to step 5 foot to make sure that you're in range with both of them without provoking, but you couldn't move away from them.
no, I'm not going to move because they have then moved to me.
Cool. Well, at the moment, you are currently in melee with the boss.
Cool.
Because of the way he moved the other one. So, the other goblin steps up to you.
Oh.
God.
19 with disadvantage.
Damn!
Yes! He flails unexpectedly.
So glad that's on you.
That is 4 points of damage.
Very glad that's on you.
Ow!
You understand why?
So yeah, so he steps up and slashes up and goes straight up the side of your stomach with his scimitar.
Now he catches your ankles, the little bastard.
Oh, making me angry.
Good!
Sure, you're not a barbarian. Hoff,
Oh yeah,
it's
that's
your turn.
true.
So top of the round.
Let's get a stabbing.
Get to stabbing.
Let's get to stabbing.
Which one are you stabbing? The smaller one or the bigger one?
Big one.
Bigger one? Okay, you
He
are
needs-
currently at advantage because he's prone.
He needs stabbing
And
advantage.
flanking.
It's still advantage.
Ah. 17.
17 hits.
Yay!
On the nose.
Yeah.
He doesn't swap out.
Oh, I need D4.
Yay!
It's possibly that you might only be able to use it once
his
a round.
reaction.
Yeah.
Yay!
3.
3 points of damage.
I
So you come over
He's got
and
my dex. Yeah.
That's right. He felt the pain.
come over and you give him a little stick in the side, get past some of the chain, catch him, a little bit of blood comes out. He's like, ah, gives a little squeak at you. Macaria.
I will assist Cassandra.
Okay.
So move and help Cassandra. So she'll gain advantage on her next skill check or attack roll.
So the goblin boss is going to use half his movement to stand up, so he's no longer prone.
Boo.
At which point, it still doesn't negate the disadvantage he has because he is under the fright condition. But he
Yes, he's gonna
is.
stab at me.
He's going to take one at the person who's just hit him.
Yeah.
Does a 12 hit you?
No.
Okay, so
13.
he swings up with his scimitar just after he stood up, bringing the blade up with him.
Probably just cuts my leather vest.
Yeah. At which point he's gonna use his second attack to swing across to try and hit you. Try and bring some space.
He's flailing a bit.
8. Nope. So that one also swings wide.
Right, someone curb stomp him quick.
At which point we go round to Zach.
Cool. Right, so boss, clean shot, no.
At this point, because he's in fairly severe melee combat, I would give you disadvantage on that shot.
Yeah,
Okay, not
don't
gonna do
hit
that.
us.
Because he's actually surrounded at this point,
Okay.
more or less.
Are there any other goblins alive?
Yep, there is one other goblin. He hasn't been killed yet.
Witness.
Yep.
There
Yeah.
you go.
See,
Shot the boss.
So yep, so whatever you roll on your dice, double it. And then add your stat modifier.
12 points of damage.
Yeah, as that goblin sort of wildly looking terrified towards Macaria, one of the bolts he fired just goes straight into his cheek, just completely takes him out.
Finally. Reload.
Carson, your turn.
Okay. Am I still in melee range with him, or do I need to basically step up like 5 foot or whatever to the big boss?
You're still in melee range with him.
Cool. May as well, flurry of blows, which is effectively standard attack and bonus action attack. If he's, which he's probably still going to be alive. Do I still gain advantage?
You're currently flanking.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Roll a flurry of nose.
Fuck it. I'm going to be flash. I'm going to try and kick him in the head with the first one.
Roll.
Ooh. 19.
Yes.
Hooray. 5 damage.
Okay. And your bonus attack.
Bonus attack. Uppercut. Fuck it.
Hadouken! Oh!
Crit.
Okay. Roll your damage dice.
Fatality.
Double whatever you roll on it, and then add your stat modifier.
Vampire.
Or roll twice. That works too.
7 damage.
Okay.
I got a 1 on the first roll of the dice. I'm not doubling that.
How do you kill him?
Ooh.
There's a boss killing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I've got a nice roundhouse with the first one, smack him around the face. And as my foot lands, I basically go around my left hand and basically just crack his jaw up, and I'm hoping.
Slamp him to death!
Okay, so as you catch your fist onto his jaw, you feel a fairly nasty grinding for a split second, and you see his jaw entirely dislodge, and just this horrible, a few teeth just fly off towards the side of the room, just completely obliterated. At which point he sort of falls down dead. Yeah. That's out of initiative.
Good fight.
Yeah.
I'm going to retrieve my axes from the opposite wall.
Okay.
Oh,
so
yeah.
roll me a strength check.
Oh yeah, I need to retrieve my axe from the body.
It's just
Oh, 2.
actually a little bit in deep, and you can't quite pull them out on your own.
1 second.
I'm going to kneel down next to the boss because I want to know what they looted from the bodies and if it was important or not.
So you find what looks like a couple of strips of like dried meat, sort of jerky type things. There looks like some kind of wood carved necklace. Doesn't look like it's really worth much. Probably sentimental. On the boss and 2 goblins, you find a grand total of 10 gold. A couple of pieces you reckon may have just been pinched from those 2 guards.
The guards specifically were the bodies.
Yeah, it looks like they'd probably come in to try and deal with the goblins and hadn't realised how hard one of them was.
Okay.
I'm just going to start collecting my bolts.
I'm going to walk up and... Did you want a strength check?
Yeah.
How many more bolts do I find?
How many did you find?
Like 4.
I am only strength
You
9.
find 3.
Okay.
One of them shattered against one of the slightly more solid foundations of the building.
Okay, I'm still on
11?
17. I use my bolt.
Was it?
11.
Yeah, 11's fine. Just
Oh,
Thank you.
take one, rip him out. That's fine.
Yeah, I need to retrieve my hand axe from the boss that is now dead on the floor.
Yeah, that's just sort of in his side, sort of jimmy it out a little bit.
Step
There's a bit of give.
Step on the chest, yank.
Pretty much, yeah. Doesn't look like their equipment was particularly good quality. Couple of sort of rusty-ish looking scimitars. His chain shirt doesn't look like anything special.
It can be metal down.
Yeah, so looks like he had a shield as well, small buckler thing, but again nothing particularly great. But so as you sort of finish him off, pick up your equipment and things and
Sorry,
go
hang on.
to.
What were you?
No, that's fine.
If there's anything else, sorry, apologies.
There was nothing else I wanted to do. I'm leaving. So.
Okay. That's one.
Just
So, as you guys are
Alright.
sort of gathering your last few bits, Macaria steps out first, sort of you all start to step out after her. Given sort of the muffled state of the building and the fact there was a bit of shouting and clanging and weapons and things, you didn't quite hear what was going on outside necessarily, but you sort of step out to find the captain sort of heading back as well. Again, a little bit of smoke trailing from his gun as he puts it back into its holster. It's like, I trust you're all okay. You look a little bit worse for wear there.
What's
yeah.
What are you on?
3,
Out
5.
of
10.
5 out of 13.
Nice.
So give or take, you know.
Yeah, good job I gave you that short rest there.
Yeah.
So the sound effects of that fight were probably along the lines of clang, tink, fuck.
Funk, funk.
Stab.
2 goblins, 1 bigger ones. Unfortunately, 2 of your guards are deceased as well.
I figured based on what they said when they came to get us, we'll have to make sure they get a decent burial when we've got a moment. But they say if they had a couple more sneak in, I imagine that hopefully should be them for the day. So I'll get one of the boys to help patch you guys up a little bit.
I give the captain the 10 gold, the wooden necklace, and the other bits that I found and said, these were on them, it looks like they've looted it from your people.
Oh, that's George's necklace. His wife won't be too happy. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. He sort of closes that, looks around, finds one of the guards, exchanges a few words, just snippets of what's
Send
the
these back to
conversation.
the family sort of shit.
Yeah, and he sort of takes it and runs off.
Hey George, you tell this one. I'm not doing it. Fuck off.
But yeah, but so he goes back to the tavern with you guys. So it calls over to the barman. I have names.
Names.
Yeah, you fuckers didn't know. How do
Sounds like it's gonna be a Dave.
Or a Steve.
Jinx touch words, no, you can't talk.
He calls over to Boyd. Any costs for the rooms for the night we'll cover. Just make sure they get a good night's sleep. They're going to need it.
Thank you, Gavin.
So if you got any other questions or if there's anything else you want to know.
Do you have a herbalist or apothecary or someone with significant healing prowess within this village?
Not significant. As I said, I'll send one of the boys around. He's got a little bit of rudimentary knowledge of just patching up a few wounds. It'll sort of help you sleep it off. But
I'm sure
the
we'll
best
be
I
the
can do.
services of appreciation.
I can. Maybe while this is, while we have the advantage, I have no problem. I have no problem seeing in the darkness and twilight. I could try and to track them while you're resting. While you were resting.
Get your sleep.
Oh.
We've got a long journey tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Plus, if there's more buggers like that, then
We
you don't want to catch you on your own.
alone.
I say Obsidia's about a week or so on foot from here, so I imagine you'll need your rest, and I wouldn't advise going out at night just in case.
I can't speak for the ladies, but I know that me and Reinhardt can't see shit in the dark.
Yep. You got that about right.
I see perfectly fine in the evening.
Oh well.
As I said,
Same
I
for
cannot
me.
speak for
Oh well.
myself.
I'm going to just show me to my room then.
So, Mr. Sir, let us go to the kitchen and prepare dinner.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Do
Although I think I might need to bandage these wounds first. I don't want to bleed all over the food.
I will go to the kitchen and I will clean everything for you then.
Okay, so-
Thank you.
Will this be about the right time to tell you I'm the health inspector?
So Cam Graham sort of steps back and says, "I'll send one of the boys in."
Thank
He walks out and
What's your name?
Ah, Carson.
Carson. Right.
I'm about to prestigitate the shit out of that kitchen. It's gonna be clean.
Carson, Hoff, Zach,
I would have left the room.
and
Mal, wasn't it?
Mel, Mac.
Mel.
I don't know. M for now.
M.
So I'm gonna leave the kitchen door open so you just get to see sparks every so often.
okay, so when you go in, there isn't anything that's filthy as such. There's just a lot of dust build up. There's the odd thing that's been used over the past couple of days that's got a little bit of maybe stew on it.
The old
And
spider.
you prestigitate it all, and within sort of moments, all of the dishes are sparkling. A couple more moments, all the surfaces completely clean.
Yay.
A couple more moments pass, and because you can, floors. At that point, the door's sort of open, and one of the guards comes in. He's got a couple of sort of bandages in his arm. He said, "Captain sent me along to help you guys a little bit, just to patch you up a
See
bit."
some blood.
Yeah, I'm just like, go for the lady.
Ladies first, my friend.
I walk back in and I've got a bowl of warm water.
I thank you very much.
As I start taking off my armour,
Prestigitation.
which hurts like hell because it's currently holding everything in.
I say he said, I can help you take it off if you'd like. And
Thanks.
so he helps you get the sort of the armour pieces undone, lets you sort of do the large taking off. Largely patches you up, cleans you all up. The disinfecting is literally nothing more than him sponging down with water because they don't seem to have much in the way of actual disinfectant.
Yeah.
Anyone who's brave enough to get some alcohol from the barman,
Hey.
he uses a bit of that to wipe up a bit, but nothing severe, which just sort of means that it helps when you're recovering and preventing infection and things. After a bit of time, you get cleaned up and then roll your cooking. I will give you advantage because everything has been thoroughly cleaned.
Ooh.
You walk into Gordon Ramsay kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, witness! Witnessed!
This
That's
is
20
what you
for
get
fluff!
20 on.
So
Yeah, so I was basically my idea
vampire.
was if we got the ingredients, I was going to make a nice pot stew, and then ask for someone to go, see if you can get some of the guards, to
I've
grab a
got
bowl.
I've got some nature. I could have gone and got some plants or something.
Ah.
Edible plants.
yeah, we'll
Well,
say while he's cooking, because he starts to go a little bit overboard, and he's sort of got 2 or 3 pots on the go, but they're quite big pots, and he's sort of filling them. So if you want to roll a nature check just to grab a few more bits.
Could I find some healing herbs?
Well, you certainly have a very, very hearty meal. So, with the things you find, they've got a garden.
I found a rabbit.
They've got a garden. Yeah, they've got a garden of some decent veg and things, which was sort of ready to be harvested, ready for the night's meal. As well as there being a rabbit in there, which as you sort of come in, you see the rabbit, chuck a hand axe at it, just catch it in the back, just dies instantly because it's a rabbit.
Tell me about the webs, George.
So you find a few mushrooms around the side of one of the houses that are actually really, really nice in a decent stew or as a garnish to rabbits. And as you sort of get all these together, you come back in, and Carson working absolutely furiously with the knives and
the rabbit over my shoulder.
Yeah, just like, that's perfect.
Sets to skinning it. Starts preparing the mushrooms and the veg. And it is a wonderful hearty meal, enough to feed probably 2 villages of this size. Just because you got that carried away with cooking.
for tomorrow.
Food, yeah, no, pretty much.
You have rations, boss.
So
Feed the barkeep.
Yeah, no, I literally say to the barkeep, by the way, get anyone you can to come for food. There's going to be plenty of it.
So, as you're sort of, making sure the food's ready, dished up, the guards sort of come through almost on rotation, making sure there's people to look out the whole time. You work out that there's probably about 12 guards left, which is not a huge amount, and there's 15 villages. Not a lot. One of them is a really quite profusely crying lady, and sort of one of the guards who you work out as her brother is just sort of consoling her, and you have a feeling that's probably the wife of the one who died before. But so while you're getting all the food together, eating, resting.
Okay, so I did the kitchen. I sat down. During that time, I have like a thick leather book that I carry around, which is all my research. I'm going to spend the time sketching everyone. And then whoever's name I do know, which so far is Cassandra, I'm going to write her name underneath it because I'm really bad at knowing who people are.
Sure.
And then Captain Graham as well.
Okay.
Captain Graham.
Yeah.
When I see the lady walk in crying, I'm going to walk up to her.
Okay. So her brother, who's sort of, been making sure she's eating the food, and he's been sort of keeping her eye. Every now and then one of the guys come over and he's sort of almost shooing them away because... he sort of sees you come over, and he sort of puts a hand on her shoulder, sort of stands up, and then turns to you. Sorry, can I help?
I just wanted to apologise that we couldn't help sooner. We didn't get there fast enough.
To be honest, the help you've given us all is absolutely, just above and beyond. We haven't seen people in weeks, let alone people that come to help. At the moment, I just need to get my sister to it. I need to get her home, try and get her to get some sleep. But the best thing you can do now, the captain said that you guys would be trying to get help if it's judged based on what I've seen so far. And when you sort of, now that you're looking at him, he looks like the one who took the stuff before to run off. So you think that might be why Graham sent him off. But if you guys are able to get this help, that's absolutely the best that we can hope for at the moment. He sort of looks around at the others like, you look like you are a capable group there.
I know what it's like to lose a loved one. And I know it's not going to seem like any consolation now, but it will get better. It just takes time.
Once we get some reinforcements, hopefully then we'll be able to take some time.
Have time to grieve.
That's the hope. Thank you.
That help?
Yeah, so he sort of goes back down. So after some time, getting food together, maybe talking to a few of the guards. It starts to go through to the evening. The afternoon passes by, a little bit of banter, just getting stuff cleaned off, getting yourselves cleaned off, cleaning bits up.
I will groom my dog. Get all the dirt of the road out of it.
I will attract the dog by petting the dog.
So it starts to come to evening, and Captain Graham sort of comes past and says, "What sort of time do you think you'd be leaving tomorrow?"
Dawn.
Dawn.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Based
First
on
light seems right.
based on
We
the
need to get
time they
going
attacked
as fast
today,
as
it would
possible.
seem prudent.
How's everyone travelling? You have horses?
Walking.
I'm good with on foot.
Unfortunately, as much as we'd like to offer you horses, we have one left.
I can.
one horse is bad as
I've got space. I've got space on the cart for supplies to save people carrying things.
Thank
I
you.
imagine that'll help.
That's appreciated.
I'll say,
Yeah,
not.
thank you, Hoff. That will be useful.
I definitely don't want to sound like I'm trying to get rid of your company or anything, but if you're planning on heading out that early, you might want to get an early night's sleep.
I believe that was the plan.
Yeah.
Just one more night.
So, with you all going to bed for the evening, you regain all your hit points, you get back your hit dice, because you get half your hit dice, but that's still one. So you get back your one hit dice. Based on the 2 natural 20s, one for gathering ingredients and one for cooking, write this down somewhere so that you remember. I'm going to give you each 4 temporary hit points for next session.
Yes!
So you will have 4 temporary hit points.
This nice convenient temporary hit points section on my sheet will do.
Yeah, but based on those awesome rolls for nature and cooking.
That was
I think
ridiculous.
that's reasonable.
feel strong as hell.
Super hearty meal. Oh.
That means that next session I can use my right 4 times and it not hurt me. Well, it will hurt me, but it's not the point.
Yeah. With that, you all head up to your rooms, get a night's sleep. Few aches and pains as you're going.
Drink
to sleep.
first, then sleep.
Still, I'm used to sleeping on ground and other such things. So a bed, it's
I'm
not.
used to sleeping cuddled up to a dog.
With
No,
I
you
am
still are
stupid,
cuddled
yeah.
up to the dog, just on a bed.
On a bed, yeah.
A mattress. Luxury.
With your night's sleep, you get some whispers. You can't quite make these ones out. Sometimes you have been able to make out what the contents of the whispers are, sometimes you haven't. But this time, you've got them, but not quite enough to understand what they're saying. But yeah, and that I think will take us to the end of the session for the day.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that it's 25 past 11.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I didn't even notice.
Oh, damn.
So that was the first session, of the new campaign. Well, I've got to say I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far.
We need to name the campaign. Hurry up.
Yes, that was going to be another thing because we haven't actually got a name for the campaign yet. So.
Actually, we do.
Oh.
So what is it?
I have christened this campaign the Crescentia Campaign.
Crescentia.
Think like Crescent Moon. So it's a Crescentia.
So it's going to have an official name and unofficial name because that always happens.
Well, yeah, there's always an unofficial name.
We are going to name it at some point.
We'll let you know when we unofficially name it.
Unofficially.
I can't remember what the official name of the Thursday campaign was, but I know what the unofficial name is, and it's pretty much superseded because of the official name.
Yeah, find out.
I'm not sure if anyone remembers what the original campaign name was.
I don't think the DM remembers what the official campaign name was.
I feel like you guys need a bit more time to work out how
Yeah.
it's going before you can really give it your unofficial
Well, that's what
name.
we said we need to wait. We'll find out.
Yeah. So so that was awesome. So that's the first session, all nice and done. So we're going to be continuing this, on Tuesdays for however long.
Yeah.
Until we either we get bored and want to try something else,
Or Cassus needs breaks.
Thanks. You're going to get bored of you bastard.
Or
How could you?
Cassus
to
needs
avoid
a break.
DM burnout.
that as well.
See, some people are more fucking eloquent about it.
Someone hit my lunch me.
Later.
I can hit Merlin. Anyway, so thank you very much, guys. Hope you've enjoyed. Be sure to tune in next week where we continue where we left off. So me and Cassus will be continuing with Mass Effect on Saturday.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
Oh shit, yo!
So hope to see you next time, or at least next week. So thanks again, guys.
Bye.
Bye.